Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I am alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison. It's Monday morning. It's a little bit of an overcast day for me. It's kind of nice, though. Having a nice cool day. Go for a run, get a little workout out here in Florida. Kind of a nice change of the weather, although I do miss the sun because I like getting a little tan when I go for a run. But hey, it is what it is. It's October 27th. I hope you guys have had a productive morning as well. Got a breakfast in. Maybe gone for a run, workout, got some work done, something. I hope you had a productive day. If not, we're gonna start that trend or continue that trend, depending where you're at in that process. We're gonna be productive people and dig through some of the stuff you want to dig through. Anyways, we'll be going through some of the Kirk case stuff. I know everyone in this chat has been telling me they have Kirk fatigue, but man, well, stuff keeps coming out. I don't know what to fucking tell you, so we're gonna cover it. There was a new individual being called into the case that some dubious past is in there for some kiddie stuff, and it seems to be a prevalent theme we're noticing. We also have today we'll be doing some Epstein digging, particularly with the government shutdown. I guess there's been a guy who helped foot the bill. Wink, wink. Okay, LOL. Sure, and then also we'll be doing a little Cui Bono, kind of digging into who benefits today. That's kind of a grab bag of different things. This is a particularly probably maybe the center at the fore there of that grab bag of topics is I want to be digging into the money networks that have been the anti-Massey stuff, which will probably likely easily get transferred over to the anti-Rand stuff once this Epstein discharge moves over to the Senate, and particularly with all the Venezuela stuff going on. And I know those two being the only voices of sanity over there, seemingly. I wouldn't be surprised if those same networks swap over. Plus, we have some weird arrests from people that seemingly connected. We'll dig into all of this. This is a dump. I don't know. We're kind of forming our opinions as we go. I know, probably at the beginning of this month, there was an underreported story about, I guess, some religious leader connected to Trump that got busted for some kiddie stuff. So we'll dig into that, see what that is. See is he really all that tied into him? We'll find out. Maybe we'll go into the odd Romney death and a few other just odd things. There's also some more information that came out about the Trump assassination. So I think these things all kind of tie into kind of what the fuck's going on, who's doing what, kind of Cui Bono. We're following the money a little bit. Also kind of some of the weirdness of the people getting whacked, getting arrested. You can kind of start to, from there kind of deduce some things or at least notice some patterns. So... but yeah, we have plenty to go through today. But yeah, we'll obviously, as always, we'll start off today with our fun little icebreaker type stories, a little more Gen Pop type stuff. Then we'll say our good mornings, and then we'll get into the foreign policy portion of the show, and then we'll get into the aforementioned main topics I was just talking about. But all right, let's go ahead and get into those icebreaker topics. As I said, starting off as a fun little clip of Gavin Newsom. Apparently this dude's hood as fuck. He's bringing out his black voice, so I don't know. I haven't watched this yet. I want to enjoy it fresh with you guys. I think it'll be funny. I hope you guys enjoy it. Brace yourself.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. and it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
it's like the White Stack
butter
5 story.
Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Yeah,
Grew
man,
up, bro.
Are you talking about me?
Young
That's
YG.
it.
YG,
But
man, I do it.
every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man, and your arms
Entertaining
fall
yourself.
off. That's it, whole thing. So just and then then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down. All of a sudden, started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else, and started make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every damn night. And in high school, I look up in the stands, my dad's back up there.
Okay, dope.
And it's like, man, and then he's bringing his friends, and you're captain of the team, and you're like, geez, and it just saved me, and it got me into college.
Oh God, I want Gavin Newsom to go like on all the black fucking podcasts. I don't want anyone to say a word. Everyone just amp him. Because I know I've been saying on this show a lot about how like Gavin Newsom's like campaign seems to like get it. But I think it's like pretty clear. I don't think he gets it. As I said, his campaign gets it. So I think sometimes we'll see some of this forward-facing stuff and we're like, okay, all right, this guy seems to get the modern dynamic of the meme war or like kind of just the online social media kind of. I mean, I think we played, I don't know, maybe like a week or two ago, some of the APAC or JPAC or whatever the hell it is over in his neck of the woods type stuff and his crazy answers. So like they're like trying to signal like, oh, we're new, we're hip, and we're like, why don't you put them like on the things that like matter, where you're like, oh, are you not? So it's like, it seems it's clearly a facade. And while I was like, I guess part of me, I don't know if I'd say hopeful, I guess because it is kind of funny seeing a funny campaign. I guess say hopeful in the same way I could have said I was hopeful for maybe Trump campaigns and that could have been funny. I still think even Gavin Newsom's not quite going to own up to it because it's just at the end of the day, he isn't that. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if he can navigate these waters because although who knows, maybe he just sticks with whatever the fuck this is because this is entertaining too. I hope we see more of this. All right, let's get into the next story. This is once again it's another fun little thing. Nothing of substance here. Here's Trump in Malaysia. He's dropped a new dance. That's the significance of this clip right now. Get prepared. Buckle yourself in. Get ready for the new dance craze. It'll be sweeping the nation. Here you go. Get a little slow one now. Doing this. Doing this move. This is slow. All right, I know. I can always enjoy a good Trump dance. I just thought it was a new variation. You guys should be aware. On to the next story. Apparently, Ghislaine Maxwell claims she domed up George Clooney. Cool. I don't know. I'm not gonna dig through this story today. Maybe we'll dig through on my own time. You guys feel free to. Whether this is by design or not, I see this like okay. All right, cool. Ghislaine domed up George Clooney. Lucky her. Well, isn't that nice? So there you go. Now we all know. Ghislaine domed up George Clooney. So now you guys have that in your head. Following up on this will be our last story before we move on to the serious stuff, foreign policy. Although this is serious, I usually do try to, with these like icebreaker stories, go a little bit more goofy and kind of edge it, kind of rein it back into a little bit more substantive as we go along. While I do still kind of this whole Graham Plattner Nazi tattoo thing, I've kind of seen as kind of a just gay, just like part of me is like, if it even is a story, the story is what a non-story it is and how contrived this has become, sort of. Although there is that weird little vein, as we've kind of mentioned a few times, of the weird like dubious history of him. So you're like, I know everyone got, it seems like the Nazi iconography is like kind of buried the lead on what could be. Perhaps. I mean, it sounds crazy to say, but given this guy's background, we've talked about his ex-Blackwater, and I don't think we've talked about this before. Maybe now that I mentioned, I wish I'd found the tab, but apparently his family history is a little bit more hoity-toity than we thought. He comes from a little bit better background than he's not quite the everyman that he seems to portray himself as. So I think a lot of people are kind of noticing perhaps coming from a higher social strata, ends up in military contracting, particularly during a period of time in which Blackwater was confirmed to have been working in cahoots with the CIA. Admitted by Eric Prince, I believe, if I recall correctly. I can always dig into these and find some, but this is my recollection, is that during this period of time, that he was, that Eric Prince had confirmed that, yeah, they were working in conjunction with them at times. Who knows? Maybe he just had a boring thing. But my point being is everyone gets caught up on these Nazi symbolism. Well, anyone who's followed this show long enough, if we're talking about CIA contracted death squads overseas that take on iconography, particularly of that like kind of European, Russian, kind of Eastern European vibe of those weird kind of Nazi style, like cross skull and crossbones. If we're talking about that, you're also, let's be real, we're talking about the same sort of symbolism that you would see in the warrior culture of the Gladio type networks. And I mean, obviously, it's a reach. We don't fucking know this, but it's funny how like the people just see Herder Nazi and they go, well, I bet you he hates Jews or is literally a National Socialist or something. Whatever the fuck that means. Meanwhile, this guy is fucking seems to have had quite the illicit military record, which I'm completely open to the idea of people being in the military. I luckily never saw combat. I didn't have a combat job. I've told you guys before I failed out of SEER as a SEER instructor because I had bad vision. I actually wanted to go for combat control, so I tried to go for like spec ops, failed out. So end up being a crew chief for my entire career. So I never saw anything. I'm kind of glad I didn't. I have a very different perspective in the world than when I joined. I definitely wanted to kill people when I joined. So I could easily have seen myself somehow ending up in a similar situation. Thank goodness my eyes are fucked up. I'm wearing contacts right now. Otherwise, I would have ended up being like a combat controller in the Air Force. Would have been probably calling in fucking airstrikes and shit. So could have had a very different life had my eyes just not been fucky. So thank goodness for that. But anyways, point being, is I can understand someone doing that in their youth and then kind of later. But given everything about this guy, kind of what we're learning throughout this, what kind of seemed like what disguised as a smear campaign, with there being some actual substantive stuff hiding in the background, it does bring up legitimate questions of like, is this the sort of person you want representing yourself? For example, getting it or representing your wherever the hell he is. Where's he? Maine? I think he's running for Senate. But anyways, here's someone saying, brother, he's ex Blackwater. I'm surprised he wasn't in Abu Ghraib photos. And then here we go. Apparently, he was a guard defending the Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, which, once again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. But when you add to it that, apparently, part of this whole story were the leaks on his Reddit, and people were bringing up all the Reddit stuff. Well, everyone got caught up in the tattoo and this and that. Well, some of the stuff that came up in the Reddit was how he was characterizing his service and at what times. Well, here's him in January 2nd, 2020, so only 5 years ago, saying I want to have an adventure and kill some people. I joined up in 2004, did Fallujah and Ramadi, and managed both. Hell of an excellent experience. So he saw it as an excellent experience. Now, I'd be open to hearing, I'd love to, I mean, if there's anyone out there, I highly doubt that any Graham Plattner's people are listening. I'd be very interested in having you on and hearing about your past. You could explain more. But I do find it very interesting with this whole story that people get caught up in this like abstract gay like Nazi nonsense, and it's like hidden in the background. You're like, okay, here's a legitimate thing. This guy kind of looks like, if you're being speculative, some sort of military the military MIC type plant, like a military industrial complex type plant, into literally going into the Senate. So. Seemingly portraying himself as some sort of everyman, some sort of lefty foo-foo, like, the harm that any sort of Nazi symbolism would do. Meanwhile, this guy is smoking fucking Hajis over in the Middle East and be like, woohoo, fuck yeah. I don't know. I would want to hear maybe it exists out there. I'm opening to this being as something exists out there. I mean, people have conflicted ideas in this. I totally understand the idea of even enjoying violence, perhaps, and seeing how you could get to that, but I would hope you've at least developed enough as a person that you would come to the conclusion that like, oh, something was wrong about some of those things. Maybe some of the missions you could be like, this specific thing I don't feel bad about. This is why. Lot to explain. I'm just saying, I mean, if this is someone you want representing yourself, particularly in this age of declining empires, and kind of we're in this weird shifting of the paradigm to where, like, are we still going to try to be an empire? What are we going to be? And then you have these lefties who like to portray themselves as the anti-war type, and you have this guy sneaking in the back. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's explained all these comments somewhere, but I haven't seen it. And I do think it's interesting that, like, the lowbrow herder Nazi is what gets honed in on. Meanwhile, there's some interesting stuff about this guy. For example, he was a machine gunner in the Battle of Fallujah, which, once again, people can do these things and have conflicted thoughts and think this or that, but it's just, I don't know, if this guy still does think, these things were great or whatever, and if he still supports such things, well, I think someone would, if you are trying to do op-ed research, this would be the sort of things you will want to bring up that would be disqualifying. Now we have some dubiously, symbolically connected, which I guess people say it literally is, because like the totem cop for whatever I think skull, it's like it literally is a 1-for-1, but it is also a large black skull and crossbones. So I know a lot of people are like still stick on I don't understand how we could ever get that. I mean, I don't think it's that at all that crazy that someone could fucking go end up in Croatia and point, like, I fucking want that. If you end up in some seedy fucking tattoo place, there's a lot of weird biker bars that have all sorts. I wouldn't be surprised if they have some iconography that probably is legitimately like prison tattoos or this or that. Probably, I'd say usually they probably don't keep on the flash art on the wall the stuff that's like, like very prominent, like probably not like literally the swastikas when you're like flipping through, but stuff like what he got, like a totem cop skull, which most people, who the fuck even knows? I didn't know what a totem cop skull was before all this. I think it's completely believable somebody could be flipping through some weird seedy tattoo shop in Croatia and go, I want this. Completely believable. But I just find it funny that that's what people hone in on. And meanwhile, there might be some more to that. I'd like to hear more from him, where he is in that. Not that I am voting in Maine, and nor would I even if I did, nor would I vote for him. I believe he is running left. I think he does portray himself as kind of being, I think, kind of more progressive, hardcore socialist type, from my understanding, which kind of makes this all the more weirder that this guy might have been was literally some contractor for Blackwater and has all these weird things in the background. But all right, guys, let's get to the chat. Check in when you guys say our good mornings. Make sure you hit that like button. A little slow Monday morning. You can see by people rolling in. But I guess I've trained you guys to me being late. So now when I'm on time, you guys show up late. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe more of you guys will show up in like 15 minutes. Good morning, Bobo. Good morning, good morning, good morning, John Black. Good morning, Tom33. Good morning. Good morning, Tillispook, saying lizard people. Yeah, we'll be talking about the lizard people a little bit. We won't make a whole big thing about it. We'll kind of cover that in our Kirk coverage, because that's, I guess, been part of the latest attack on Candace. So, I don't know. I haven't watched the clip yet, but apparently she said some stuff about lizard people, and everyone's freaking out. Good morning. I think I already said good morning to you, but good morning, CTP. Good morning, Shannon Jones. Good morning, Tilla Spook. Good morning, Noname. Good morning, JMS. Good morning, Bobo. Good morning, Romulus. Good morning, King David. Good morning. Hit that like button, says King David. Yes, please. Good morning, Robin is a brat. What up, fags? Hey, Robin, I actually had a new idea for like an intro for like this show, and like kind of almost like a bumper, like that's a new thing everyone does now in the past like year or so. Everyone does these bumpers for their show, and that's kind of like the nice production thing. Like instead of me starting out with an intro and then coming to the show, they have like, hey, I'm Jose, and blah, blah, blah. What are you? And I kind of have to say some funny, like cool little one-liner, kind of like CSI Miami, and take off my glasses, and then we go to the thing and then cut back. Well, I've been thinking as a bumper, and I think you would really like this. Being as I have kitties, I have at least 10, and then actually a new litter, so there's like 5 of them over there. So I wouldn't bring up the new litter until they got a little bit older, because little itty bitty beans. But I thought you would enjoy this. What do you think, Robin and chat? What do you guys think about the idea of a kitty of the day? I was thinking about that. Like my bumper for the morning dump would be like, and this is This is Eeyore. He's a nice bicolor blue and white, hairless Sphinx. He's a sweet little boy, as you could say. And enjoy the show. And then cut to intro, and cut to like the morning dump intro, and then something like that, like maybe even a little kind of like a bumper, like make sure you hit that subscribe button, Eeyore, kind of like Eeyore wants you to, or whatever. Like I think that'd be really cute. I think that'd be fun, a fun little addition. I was actually joking with my wife about like advertising. I hope he's not watching this, but although if he is, he might get a laugh out of it. There's a friend of mine, a very prominent friend of mine who has a wife that recently started doing promoting some stuff, and I was just joking to my wife because she's a big Dr. Phil fan, and we always joke about how like his wife Robin will always like have some weird shit at the end of the show she's trying to hawk, and just like trying to promote shit off her husband's name, which I guess is smart business, but to like as a husband has been married for over a decade, you're like I could kind of like roll my eyes like, honey, leave me the fuck alone. Like I joke to my wife kind of like don't ever, like, if I get big and famous, you don't get to do that. Like, you don't get to make up some fucking bullshit and then just promote it off my name. Like, I don't want to have to hawk your bullshit. And she was, and then she was like, she brought up the idea of like, well, I mean, I wouldn't do that anyways. And she was like, actually, you should do it with the kitties. And then we came up with this idea. So, by the way, if you are watching that, because I know who that person is, and I had actually just talked about having this show, they might be. I hope you got a laugh at that. But anyways, no shade at all. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Tom says the kitty breeder is going to tell us about the kitty diddlers. Yes, I will. Bobo says something about what about a No Way Jose fitness challenge? I don't know. I have considered the idea of like perhaps like maybe posting like my routine before for people who would get something out of that, so they have like kind of a basic idea, because I think a lot of people just don't even know where to start or have even an idea of like a theory, I guess, basic, because you can kind of do whatever. I've done so many different types of workouts and this and that, but if you don't even have like a conception of like what you should do, what muscles, this, that, if you get kind of like a starter workout thing, I think like kind of the routine I do now, a lot of people might get benefit out of it, although it just feels kind of egotistical, I guess. So I guess I'm just kind of waiting if my channel gets large enough and I ever feel like there's actually an outpouring of people like, I'd like that. But if you have some sort of idea of a fitness challenge, I'd be open to it. You are in the Telegram, so that is the place to have those sort of discussions. Good morning, John Black. I already said good morning to you. Good morning, Knife Safety Plus. Good morning, says Clinton Kamala. And no, Newsom turning to Nubian roots and now Newsom turning to Nubian roots to get elected. Yep. Saying they need hot sauce. Yeah, remembering the Hillary Clinton stuff. Good morning, hey, say what now? Good morning, Fred44. Good morning. Good morning, Nevsky, saying my president has rhythm. JMS says, babe, wake up. New Trump dance just dropped. Good morning, Eric Petty. It said, you rule, dude. You rule, too. It says, good morning, Josh, using my government name, not my made-up name. Good morning, good morning. JMS says respect to those who serve and those who want to. Well, I mean, I appreciate that. I don't necessarily give respect for serving or not serving. I guess it really depends. If anything, it's kind of the way I look at it now is kind of like, well, you you just got bamboozled. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I guess it depends on like kind of your reasons why you got bamboozled. I think a lot of people do kind of like, to my thoughts of like the idea of like violence. Like I do, like, as a man, I don't think it's necessarily even wrong necessarily as a man to desire violence or want it, and I think that's something that's manipulated as a young man. I think it's just the idea of, it's just the same idea as like a man of like desiring fucking or something. It's like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but like, you gotta control that shit. You can't just fuck everyone. It's the same thing for men. We do, I think, inherently sort of kind of have a bloodlust. Like, we just kind of do. Like, I'll be honest, like, there's always part of me that's like, I would love to just fuck someone up, but there's like the controlling part of me that's like, nope, I'm just bottling that shit deep down inside until the moment to where it's justified, and then I will fucking rip you limb from limb. Like, that's kind of, I don't know, like, it's that silly Jordan Peterson quote about like, if you're not danger, I mean, like, it's like, was it like, what's this about being safe, and I don't know, whatever, I'll think of the quote later. It's the idea that like, if you aren't even dangerous, it's kind of like what is even the point? If you don't have the capacity for danger or whatever, it's like, who cares if you're harmless? It means nothing. Good morning, Goddess. Good morning, Noname. I think I said good morning to you. Good morning, JMS. Says, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about respect those who serve, and then you're talking about God. Oh, okay. I don't know how those things tied into each other, but all right. Good morning. Good morning. Knives these blesses. I'm issuing a fat wall on every libertarian who said Blackwater was cool because it's privately owned. Yeah. That is pretty retarded for sure. Good morning, Marna Matt. Good morning, Emily Lawrence. Good morning, Chaka Ho. Good morning, Mr. Chad Head. Good morning. Someone says, what happened to growing out the hair, Jose? Well, I am still sort of. I'll be honest, my wife keeps getting mad at me because I just keep taking clippers and kind of going around the ear, and then I kind of get in the back a little bit, although I'm sure the back looks all fucked up, but I don't care. I don't have to see my back. My reasoning is just kind of as I have all sorts of weird lengths and stuff, so like I'm kind of just letting it kind of fix its shit, I guess, before I let it grow out fully, I guess. And I also, part of me a little bit don't like the hair on my ear, so at least until I'm not gonna let it go until it's like perfect, I guess. So it is still growing out, but it's I'm keeping it away. I'm giving it time to fix its shit, 'cause it was all fucked up. I had this weird thing when I quit smoking like a year ago, where like I was pulling my hair. I just was kind of this like nervous. I didn't realize I was doing it. Just kind of, and then next thing I know, I had a patch of hair, and I was like, oh shit. So it took. Anyways, I'm kind of letting my hair fix its shit before I let it grow out. Or else I think it'll look really weird if I just let it grow out with all the weird inconsistencies in length and patches and stuff. So I'm just giving it some time. But yeah, for those who care about the logistics of my hair, good morning. Yes, people like the kitty of the day idea. Tom's indifferent to cats. Okay. Barnaback says that's so true. Dr. Phil's wife always promotes his show. Do you know he just has to go along with it? Yeah, exactly. So that's where that idea was born out of. Good morning, Mustache. Good morning. Good morning. Jake Moore says, good morning. Taking my morning dump, wondering if Maxwell ever gave Clooney a Blumpkin. Well, you can go read the story if you'd like to find out. I don't care. Bobo says, I didn't mean like everyday thing you post. I just mean let's challenge everyone to become better people, if that makes sense. Yeah, I did I thought that was a nice to kind of in my opening little salvo, I guess, typically my normal morning spiel. I usually do try to include that in that because I do think that's good. You know, kind of morning, you got to get yourself off to a good start. So I figured throw that in there. It makes sense. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Montana. It says violent by design. Talking about men. I'm assuming. Bump those likes up. Only 20 likes. It's abysmal. People, bump that up. Do you not like me or something? All right, guys, let's get through the foreign policy portion of the show. 1 sec. Let me clear out a few tabs here. And all right, let's get into. I cleared out too many tabs. Now I can easily swap over. All right, here we go. All right, starting off, we're leading today with Venezuela. Looks like Venezuelan things are heating up. The military is deploying another aircraft carrier to the waters near South America as the Trump administration continues its military buildup in the Caribbean and its push towards war with Venezuela. Sean Parnell, a U.S. War Department spokesman, wrote on X on Friday that the USS Gerald Ford and its strike group, which includes 5 destroyers, will be heading to the U.S. Southern Command's area of responsibility to bolster U.S. capacity to detect, monitor, and disrupt illicit actors and activities that compromise the safety and prosperity of the U.S. homeland and our security in the Western Hemisphere. Gerald Ford has been deployed in the Mediterranean Sea and, according to a ship tracker, is currently off the coast of Croatia in the Adriatic Sea. According to USNI News, it could take the aircraft carrier at least a week to reach Southcom's area of responsibility from Croatia. The deployment of the carrier and its accompanying warships will mark a significant escalation of the U.S. power in the region, amid reports that the U.S. is soon planning to bomb Venezuela with the goal of ousting President Nicolas Maduro. The U.S. has been stepping up the military pressure on Venezuela by flying bombers near its coast and continuing its bombing campaign against alleged drug boats in the region. U.S. Navy destroyer the USS Gravely has also arrived in Trinidad and Tobago for joint exercises near the coast of Venezuela. Also on Friday, Hegseth, actually we might have missed this one, Hegseth announced the 10th U.S. airstrike against a boat, so they are up to double digits that he claimed was carrying drugs. Once again, providing no evidence, of course, just calling them narco-terrorists, and that means they must fucking die. Next story over at Drop Site, we'll be digging into, looking into Marco Rubio's push for regime change in Venezuela. This is written by Ryan Grimm, Sager and Jetty, and Jack Polson. And I don't know what Ryan Grimm. He's just one of those guys. I would highly recommend him. I really like the guy. I don't know what it is about him. I just feel almost compelled, even just when I mention, just be like the thought that always comes to mind between Ryan and Emily, but more so Ryan than Emily. Although I do like Emily over at Breaking Points. So anyway, for those who aren't aware, over at Breaking Points, you have Ryan Grimm, Sager and Jetty, Crystal Ball, Emily Dashkovsky, whatever the heck her Russian last name is, and they're all nice. I like Sager, I like Crystal. They're like the main two, and they're fine. They're nice. They're great. But like, I don't know, Ryan. It's weird because he's actually kind of a lefty, I think. But something about him, maybe it's the dad humor and the temperament of him. I just always think I just really like the cut of this guy's jib. That's always what comes to my mind. Cut of his jib. I like it. Same with Emily, but less so. Very much with Ryan. Just funny guy, straight shooter. Obviously, we probably have some differences in economics, but always coming out with great news, though, over at Drop Site. So this is from these guys over there, a collaboration together. So let's cover this. It says, U.S. and Intel has assessed that little to none of the fentanyl traffic to the U.S. is being produced in Venezuela, despite recent claims from the Trump administration. A senior U.S. official directly familiar with the matter tells Drop Site. The official noted that many of the boats targeted for strikes by the Trump administration do not even have the requisite gasoline or motor capacity to reach U.S. waters, dramatically undercutting claims by SecDef. Well, that's Secretary of War now, buddy. Pete Hegseth. The claim is backed up by recent comments made by Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, who similarly noted that zero fentanyl is produced in Venezuela. Despite the lack of intelligence linking Venezuela with fentanyl production, the Trump administration has made alleged Venezuelan drug trafficking the casus belli. Don't use big words I don't know, okay? I almost feel like we should look that up. What is casus belli? Let's find out together, because if I don't know it, I bet you most of you guys don't fucking know it. So I'm not just going to sit here and pretend I know it. Casus belli, an act or situation provoking or justifying war. Cool. So next time you guys hear that, you can nod along and pretend like you're smart too, okay? Casus belli, I'm assuming this is Latin or something, and an act or situation provoking or justifying war. Okay. In its drive to overthrow the government of Maduro. On Thursday, Trump referred to possible ground action, claiming at a press conference the sea drugs coming are 5% of what they were a year ago. So now they're coming in by land. The land is going to be next. So now he's saying, oh, well, that's only like 5% of it, which I guess people could almost say like, oh, well, that addresses everyone saying, oh, you know, that stuff's not happening. So now it's on land. So he's saying the land's going to be next, indicating he was willing to bypass congressional approval. On Friday, the U.S. announced it is sending an aircraft carrier to Latin America in a further escalation. Two sources familiar with discussions at the White House note that Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a longtime proponent of regime change in Venezuela, has been the driving force behind the aggressive military and rhetorical posture toward the Maduro regime. By the way, he's currently, Marco Rubio, still, I forget what the two positions are. It's Secretary of State and Secretary of something else, or I forget, because we had that one guy who got out a while back for the weird signal. Well, I don't know if it was necessarily for the signal stuff. I don't remember exactly what it was for. I think it was kind of related to all the weird signal chat stuff. But since then, Marco Rubio has held two cabinet positions, and the same two positions that the last person to hold them was Kissinger. And so it's kind of I forget the two, Secretary of State and something, I don't know, whatever. I'll think of it later. But anyways, it is significant that Marco Rubio does kind of have a more power than we've seen amongst, I guess, heads of cabinets in a long time. So since he has two, at least that's part of it, I would assume. Toward that end, Secretary Rubio, also in charge of the remnants of the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, has redirected millions of dollars in money previously allocated for pro-democracy measures in Venezuela and the surrounding countries, a thinly veiled effort to prep the region for war. So remember all that USAID, Doge cut stuff we're getting? Well, kind of we're seeing this throughout. We're seeing a cutting of the government, but also a reshaping, which is concerning. So, I mean, I do believe there probably was, on the whole, significant cuts to USAID, if I had to guess. But now it's far more effective in their goals, essentially, since they've honed their fighting force down to people, kind of yes men, essentially. Is what it seems like. And moving it more towards their goals, like as they did with USAID here. I'm also thinking of FBI, some of the loyalty tests they were doing there, and also some of the stuff that they were able to do here in this government shutdown. Rubio cycled through multiple arguments for regime change in Venezuela during the early months of the administration, largely based around human rights and election concerns, which were unconvincing to Trump. After assuming a position on the National Security Council in the spring, Rubio then presented a new argument to Trump. That Maduro was a narco-terrorist drug trafficker based on a 2020 indictment by the Department of Justice under the first Trump administration over alleged cocaine trafficking. The official noted Trump's personal distaste for drugs and a campaign pledge to use the U.S. military against Mexican drug cartels as an important impetus for Trump greenlighting recent strikes. With Trump unable so far to carry out attacks on Mexican cartels, strikes seem as politically untenable. Rubio effectively steered his gaze to Maduro. The potential of access to Venezuela's vast oil resources made the argument that much easier. Rubio's policy was most recently at a crossroads after Maduro offered to turn over those oil resources to the U.S. in exchange for a cessation of hostilities. Trump acknowledged the offer in a recent appearance, saying Maduro offered everything. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States, which was the most retarded thing ever. I don't think we covered this in the show, but yeah, that is a quote from Trump, which is, he literally said, "Oh, Maduro offered us everything we want, anything we could want. He gave us everything, and still, we're not. We're basically being like, fuck you, despite all that," which is just plain retarded. Trump rejected the offer after being swayed by arguments from Rubio that the best way to secure Venezuela's oil reserves was to facilitate regime change in Venezuela and make a better deal with a new government, the sources said. So we have sources. Once again, this is a sources say story. I'll be honest with you here. But we have a sources say story where they're telling them that the arguments being made behind the scenes are from Rubio, that they're saying, hey, if we're to get these oil reserves, you're going to be able to get a whole lot more of these in a regime change than in any sort of deal whatsoever. I mean, no matter, even if he is basically, willing to offer you everything, he's not technically offering you everything, obviously. Whereas the argument being here by Rubio is, but if you topple the regimes, then you do get everything. I don't know if it would necessarily be that easy. It's kind of these plans get laid and they don't always go how they want. And even by the lizard people, the ones at the tippy top, we'll do this, and it doesn't always necessarily work out the way they want. So I don't even know if this will even work out for them and for their purposes. But either way, these seem to be arguments that are being put forward. It does match up with some of the statements that came out of the 2016 Trump administration. I remember that was one of the early ones. It was actually, I believe it was Venezuela. There was talks about regime change in Venezuela in the 2016 administration, and pretty nakedly, pretty much off the jump, Trump was basically being like, yeah, we could get their oil. That'd be really great, wouldn't it? Just saying it. So it seems to be in line with stuff from before. So the CIA and State Department did not respond to requests for comment. Foreign policy under Trump has come to be dominated by a group known inside the administration as the Gang of Five, sources say, consisting of Rubio, Stephen Miller, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, Trump's Chief of Staff, which I think, if I remember correctly, I think Wiles was literally on Netanyahu's staff, literal staff at one point, which is insane. Might get that wrong. Check me in the chat. Steve Witkoff, and then Trump's all-around envoy and Vice President J.D. Vance. War Secretary Pete Hegseth, in a bid for internal relevance, has eagerly executed Rubio's strategy, regularly striking boats he claims without evidence are carrying drugs, burning the passengers alive. On Thursday, sitting beside Trump, Hegseth promised a forever war against drugs. Our generation spent the better part of 2 decades hunting Al-Qaeda, hunting ISIS. As the president said, this is the ISIS, this is the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere. Our message to these foreign terrorist organizations is that we will treat you like we treated Al-Qaeda. We will kill you. Which it's like, I don't know why anyone whatsoever would take the last few decades as any sort of indication of like, yeah, we should take this and apply it to the drug war. Another thing that we've just completely been, fucked up the last few decades. So we'll just apply the praxis, a failed praxis, to another problem. The praxis has already failed. So we're essentially, for those who aren't aware, that's a big boy word for things, the method by which you do something, I guess, or I guess so anyways, they're taking a failed praxis in the current drug war, the current illegalization system, and they're taking that, and then they're going to take the praxis they used from fucking from the war on terror, and they're going to apply it to the war on drugs. Yeah, I don't know why that combination would somehow now work. Which, by the way, maybe we'll get in this another day. But I have a clip saved for you guys. Apparently, the Fuenteses of the world are actually surprisingly sort of in support of this stuff. It seems to be the holding line for a lot of these, although it's even dubious, and because it's this third class. It's not neocon. These are the realists. And a lot of them are in support of these sort of things. Now, a lot of them is kind of a dividing line amongst the realists, whether they'll take the case of like they want full-on regime change. I think at least for the Fuentes of the world, they lean towards not wanting the regime change, but they're okay with like the other stuff. So, anyways, just saying, we're getting to a point where we might actually have some odd divides, I guess, where things start to stray off. Say even like the Fuentes' camp. He's made some statements kind of pretty weak on this sort of shit. So interesting. All right, here is a clip from old BB. Actually, it's not a clip. I'm retarded. I thought it was. But here's over from Drop Site again, saying, Israel will keep striking Gaza and Lebanon. Here's in quotes, "We do not seek anyone's approval." It says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Sunday that Israel acts entirely on its own authority in Gaza and Lebanon and will continue its attacks despite U.S. assurances that the war is over. And then here's in quotes, "I want to make one thing crystal clear. Our security policy is in our own hands. We are not prepared to tolerate attacks against us. We respond according to our own judgment against attacks, as we saw in Lebanon and most recently in Gaza. We dropped 150 tons on Gaza and the terrorist elements after the attack on our 2 soldiers." He also signaled that Israel will strike what it considers emerging threats, not just active attacks. And of course, we also thwart dangers as they are being formed before they are carried out, as we did just yesterday in the Gaza Strip. Reiterating Israel's freedom to act without U.S. oversight, Netanyahu said this approach is backed by American officials. This is in quotes, "We do not seek anyone's approval for this. We are in control of our security. This is how we operate and will continue to operate. This is, of course, acceptable to the United States as well, as its most senior representatives have expressed in recent days." His remarks come after Israeli strikes killed at least 1 person in Nuseirat, Gaza, and 2 men in southern Lebanon, despite ceasefires still in effect. Netanyahu's statement followed a flurry of visits by 4 senior officials, including the vice president and the secretary of state, aimed at consolidating the Gaza truce, underscoring his message that Israel will act unilaterally regardless of American warning. Sorry, my tongue got away from me there. But yeah, pretty wild statements, especially after all these people have gone. So they're kind of talking about, hey, fuck you, we do what we want, but, whatever, it doesn't seem to matter anyways, because despite that, it seems like they're still getting U.S. approval. Apparently launched an airstrike on Saturday. So they launched an airstrike in Gaza on Saturday after notifying the U.S. and getting approval to launch the attack. The Israeli site Ynet has reported. The Israeli military launched a strike in the Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza, claiming it targeted a member of Palestinian Islamic Jihad who was planning an attack on the IDF, a claim the PIJ, this group, denied. They said in a statement the claim that its military wing, the Al-Quds Brigades, was preparing an attack was a pure false claim and fabrication through which the occupation seeks to justify its aggression in violation of the ceasefire. PIJ, which supported the ceasefire deal, called on mediating countries to compel Israel to stop its attacks on Gaza. So this is a group that supported the ceasefire deal, so it doesn't really make all that much sense for them to want to aggravate it. The strike wounded 4 Palestinians, according to Al Adwa Hospital. The hospital has received 4 injured people following the Israel's occupation targeting of a civilian car in the Al Ali Club area and Nusrat camp in central Gaza. The net reports that the alleged PIJ operator who was targeted was wounded, not killed. According to Israeli sources, the strike came after Israel passed intelligence to the U.S., and the attack was only launched after coordination with CENTCOM, which included notifying CENTCOM commander Admiral Brad Cooper. CENTCOM has established a military post in southern Gaza where it is overseeing the Gaza ceasefire. Witkoff was also briefed on the strike right after his launch. The attack marked the first time that Israel and the U.S. used a new mechanism to coordinate on military action in Gaza under the ceasefire deal. Hamas, a signatory to the ceasefire deal, called the Israeli strike a clear violation of the agreement. In response to reported criticism of the U.S.-Israel relationship, Israeli officials said they were coordinating with the U.S., but insisted Israel doesn't need approval to bomb Gaza. They've killed at least 93 Palestinians in Gaza since the ceasefire has gone into effect, and now we are full-blown at, hey, we can do whatever the fuck we want, and so far into we'll do whatever the fuck we want, and we'll tell you about it, giving kind of tentative approval or dubious approval, I guess you could say. So that's where the ceasefire is at. Furthermore, we have the minister, which I guess is not anything surprising for those who are aware of Ben Gvir and his sort of behavior. But he's literally suggesting that people shoot children at this made-up yellow line that we've talked about before. They have these yellow lines that are marked by these barriers they put about every 200 meters or so. That's the claim, which they didn't even fucking have those before. They were just shooting people on their invisible fucking lines. If you go past this invisible line, you get murdered. Not kidding. There's been many stories on this throughout this. That they've had all these kill zones where just imaginary lines not marked whatsoever. Pass here, you die. Kind of literally saying marked by lines marked in blood. So here we are, at these yellow lines, which is a little bit of a misnomer because it wasn't even yellow to begin with, and they were calling it yellow. And now they're like, oh, we're putting yellow barriers in some places, which I'm going to put a big old fucking doubt on that one. But anyways, all that aside, we'll assume they are. Let's say these supposed lines, now we have Ben Gvir saying they should also shoot children that go near these yellow lines, so if they get near it. So according to Israeli media, he made these comments during a recent security cabinet meeting. Military official who attended the meeting said the IDF's policy is to shoot any adults who cross the line and arrest a child with a donkey. In response, Ben Gvir said, why not shoot a child with a donkey? And then Channel 4 reported that he also urged Israeli military to shoot children and donkeys too, saying that Israel must stop being merciful. Then another official said, who should be shot first, the child or the donkey? Like, this is literally like, this isn't the Knesset. These are sort of discussions as if you're like in the halls of Congress or some shit. This is the shit they talk about. Now, Israel Katz concluded the conversation by saying, anyone who approaches the fence should know that they may be harmed. So this is it. And then meanwhile, they're also we have Israel funding the violence internally, domestically in the situation. They're backing 4 anti-Hamas officials in IDF-controlled, or militias, in IDF-controlled Gaza. So Israel's backing 4 militias that plan to fight against Hamas and are currently operating under the watch of the IDF in the Israeli-controlled part of Gaza, Sky News reported on Saturday. Issam al-Astal, the leader of one of the groups based in southern Gaza, said that all 4 groups are part of a coordinated effort to take over Gaza. We are all for the new Gaza. Soon we will achieve full control of the Gaza Strip and gather under one umbrella, he told Sky News. So this is one of the groups that was being funded by Israel inside of Gaza. So this is kind of how they're literally using these sort of, this is God, what is it? What do they call it? They're called the Gladio, like they're literally like stay-behind units. These are basically Gladio units. They're being open about it, but these are stay-behind units. They're in a sense, kind of. So yeah, they're basically funding internal strife in the area, which I guess, to be fair, I guess that is just a transformation of the war. Although, so it's like kind of more of the same. But yeah, so we have them funding these sort of things on the inside. I don't know. I think we're going to get to a weird point. I mean, keep in mind, too, with these militias there, we just covered that story of the supposed attacks that they justified to, that one strike they used on that PIJ group guy, the ones who supported the ceasefire. And then at the same time, they're talking about like, oh, they have these other groups. My point being is like, I don't know exactly what set this off, but you can easily have strategy of tension type stuff with these groups in here. You can have, my mind goes to the attacks the other day, or the IED that went off the other day. Obviously, it was like an IED. It was like last week that kind of caused dozens to get killed after an IED went off from like, that could have been there from anyone from forever ago. But let's say there have been a few, couple IDF members shot at or this or that. Who's to say that's Hamas and not just one of their people? Because it would behoove them with these militias to find ways to make it look like Hamas is doing things they're not. So, but anyways, let's get into the chat, checking you guys, and then we'll get into some of the main topics. So, all right, let's see. Let's check in. Pump up those likes, says Boba. Yes, please. Good morning. Said she had no idea. What's your favorite country? My favorite country. It's a good question. I don't know. I guess just kind of go to USA. I can't really think of anyone. I do like the US. I don't like the government, but like I like the USA. There's a lot of beautiful spots here. Can't really think of anywhere else better than that off the top of my head. Good morning, Tipster. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Fire Pixie. Good to see you. Nevsky says pure speculation, but somebody close to Maduro will try to take him out before Trump does. I think you're probably right, actually. So I think you're like they've already put the price tag on him, it was like $50 million or whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's like legitimately what they want. They want something to happen to him. So we'll see. But. All right. Bobo says apparently EBT people are planning to start robbing people with full grocery carts in the parking lot instead of robbing grocery stores themselves. Well, they're evolving, I guess. EBT people. I like that phrase. That's funny. Good morning. She had no idea. Says heard Kissinger was a really good guy. Funny thing is, I've heard Jolly West was a really good guy. I heard Sidney Gawley, but actually, no, I think it was Sidney Gawley, but I'm thinking not Jolly. I don't know if Jolly necessarily had a good or bad, but I think there are actually surprising a lot of these weird, spooky characters that do actually have a pretty good reputation. But who knows what they're doing behind closed doors? Good morning, everybody. Mustaches Chapo as a Jewish wife. Okay. So the Zetas were trained by the ADF. Each cartel is Jewish backers funding them. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm having Mustache 3 on the show today. We're gonna go hard on the J's. He wants to tell me about the 109 countries and all that. So if you're a patron, you'll get that early. Also do want to remind you guys to follow me or to listen to me on audio or Rumble if you prefer the video experience, because I'm not entirely sure if that episode will go on YouTube or not. We might try to vibe check YouTube, but we'll see. Yes, here we go. All right, never mind. Mustache is talking about his show, but I guess he's getting ready to do an episode on the Jays and the cartels. You'll probably get into the Sicilian Mafia on that one, if I had to guess. They always seem to come up whenever Jays and organized crime come up. And yeah, also do remind you guys, as Bobo is saying, you can catch it live tonight at, I don't know if it's 9:30 or if we're doing it at 10 tonight, I forget. But it should be live. I'll post it later today for the patrons. But you can pop in live for these. You can interact in the chat, ask questions, whatever. So yeah, I'll see some of you guys there, and then the rest of you guys, you poors, you'll have to wait a week or two for the rest for it. So he says tonight at 7 p.m. It must be 10 then. You must be over in Cali fucking hell time. So yeah, I believe 10 p.m. we'll be doing that. So or maybe it's 9. I'm not sure. I forget. It's got to be. I have kids. My kids' soccer today, so it had to have been 10. So 10 Eastern for those who are wondering. Good morning, Wise Elk. He's saying Jew nigger faggots. Good morning. That is a fun word to say, for sure. Good morning, Swedish Doom Goblin. He said, did you see the American ship that arrived in the Caribbean? It looks like ass. No, I can't say I know what you're referring to. I don't know if maybe you're talking about one of the boats that were hit by drones or whatever. I don't know. Good morning. See, good morning, Ray. Good morning. Good to see you here. Doom Goblin says the government is coming for your guns. Do you have an exit plan? I'm not particularly concerned about where I am, but yeah, definitely get out of the cities, people. Or at least the blue cities, that's for sure. Justin, good morning, Justin. Saying Trump said he doesn't like warning our enemies, but it's all over the media that CIA is on the ground in Venezuela. Well, not surprising at all. Nevsky says Texas is my favorite country. Ew, gross. I'm joking somewhat. I went to two separate places. The only time I was in Texas was in basic training and then in tech school for military. So I was in Texas for basic training. Was in San Antonio, I think, and then went up to Wichita, which is like on the Oklahoma border, and different experiences. The Wichita one was kind of nice, pretty country, but I don't know. It's not that nice when you're there for military stuff. But so I'm sure it's a huge ass area. So I'm sure there's lots of nice places in Texas. But my experience with Texas was not great. So all right, good morning, Eris Legacy. Good morning. Good morning. All right, let's go ahead and get into the main topics for the day. And other pedo has entered into the chat. For the Kirk story, let's see here. A man named Jackson Thomas Fox has been added to the Charlie Kirk case and will have a preliminary hearing today. Could this be a co-conspirator? This is from Corn Pope is the name of the account. I just was searching for it the other day and just happened to find her. Gave her a follow. Just a little account doing some digging into this, so I like to support those sort of things. But she shared an article from over in News 4 in Utah, which is referring to. Actually, we'll come back to that one. Let's look at hone in on this first. We'll come back to the article. So to start off with, to kind of what the significance of this, because it's a little confusing for legal jargon. And once again, not a lawyer. I'm just some fucking retard that talks about this stuff. So if you have anything worthwhile to add, please do so in the comments or the chat. And if I run across it, I will try to add to it if it has anything substantive or if I got something wrong or something. But we're looking at some legal documents here, which these are, as I've mentioned before, I guess they are kind of a pain in the ass to get a hold of. I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just a Utah thing or what, but you got to pay for each individual one of these. So it is kind of somewhat reliant on the legal nerds out there that are like kind of watching stuff like an eagle and paying for each one of these individuals. Not like it's a lot, but it's just like, it's one of those things. It's not like easy. You can't just Google search, doop this, and then you can bring it up. It's you got to have some like research nerds out there and know who to look at, who did it, and who interpreted this stuff, because a lot of it's legalese and weird shit you don't understand or whatever. But anyways, this lady pulled this and found this District Court of the State of Utah, 4th Judicial District, Utah County, the State of Utah versus Tyler Robinson, in order to transport. And here's the case number 251-403-576. So one more thing you can kind of verify is legit. Tony, and then Judge Tony Graff Jr., and it says here, it is hereby ordered that Jackson Thomas Fox be transported for a preliminary hearing on Friday, October 24th at 3 p.m. before the Honorable Judge Graff. The hearing will be held in Courtroom 4B at the Provo 4th Judicial District Courthouse. This was dated on the 21st. On the 24th, that was Friday? At 3 p.m. So I guess they've already done this. I mean, so I haven't heard anything new about this. But being as the way the information comes out of this, we've also covered in this show too that I believe, from my understanding, this stuff was going to be behind closed doors. They're not letting cameras. There was even the weirdness about whether they're going to allow them to have street clothes and stuff. So, and this was, I believe, for the preliminary hearing. So anyways, so we're still not entirely sure why this guy showed up. So this could mean nothing. This could mean entirely nothing. Like I said, I still haven't heard any follow-ups on this. So I'm open to, if anyone in the chat did see follow-ups on this somewhere, feel free to drop the link and I'll follow up, particularly in Rumble. If you're on Rumble, you can drop links. If you're on YouTube, you can't. So for the Rumble peeps out there, you can drop links in there, and I'm apt to follow them, or just tag me online or something. Just let me know in the chat. But all right, let's go ahead and get into the actual who the fuck is this guy. Well, this guy right here is the Jackson feller. This is what he got busted for. So Eagle Mountain man arrested for paying 13-year-old for sexual photos, documents say. So an Eagle Mountain man has been arrested and charged with sending payments to a 13-year-old girl in exchange for sexual photos. Jackson Thomas Fox, 22, has been charged with 18 counts of aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, a first-degree felony, and 2 counts of voyeurism, a Class A misdemeanor. According to documents, an investigator with the Utah County Sheriff's Office was sent a cyber tip referral from the Little Rock Police Department involving a case in her jurisdiction where a 13-year-old female child was exchanging sexual photos of herself with an adult man for money. The adult man, later identified as Fox, was sending 13-year-old child payments over Apple Pay and making specific requests for the minor, making her create CSAM of herself and share it with him. A search warrant was obtained for Fox's residence, and police interviewed him regarding the incident. Fox allegedly admitted to meeting the underage child through social media and said that he knew she was a minor. He said that he would send the 13-year-old payments in exchange for fulfilling his requests and creating CSAM. Graphic sexual images from Fox to the 13-year-old were located, and his payments to the underage girl totaled around $430, documents say. Okay, what the heck? Now this is... Oh, never mind. There you go. Sorry, my computer froze up for a minute. I hope it's fine on your side. All right. 1 second. Previously, Fox had faced charges for uploading CSAM in 2022, but a search warrant served on his residence did not return anything because he was out of town. Police were not aware that he lived there. They spoke with the homeowners who did not possess any CSAM, and the case was closed. During the police interview, he allegedly told police that he was the one who had uploaded the CSAM in that 2022 incident. Fox also admitted that he had sent and received CSAM from other individuals and has a sexual interest in young teenagers. Police discovered that Fox had access to a girl around this age, but he stated that he had not done anything to her. Detective investigating the case located CSAM on Fox's phone, as well as 2 videos where he secretly recorded adult women in changing rooms at a store. Fox was booked into the Utah County Jail and is currently being held without bail. So this is the guy that they're bringing in for the preliminary hearing. Now, why? I'm not entirely sure. As Corn points out here, it was a private, closed meeting. Is my understanding, unless something changed. As I point out here, I said can't wait for the influencers to gloat about the incoming jailhouse confession, because that's one that kind of, if we're to speculate, why are you calling in some random other guy from this prison? I mean, I would think that this guy's busted for pedo crimes. He's probably in a different part of the jail than Tyler, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. Messages get passed in jails in odd ways, and he told me he killed something, buddy. Oh, that's awfully convenient from somebody who is currently charged with pedo stuff. So just saying. Now, she does point out, this researcher who I was talking to, Corn Pope, she's saying, I'm trying to find connections to Fox and Robinson or Twigs. Their age is consistent. All 3 of them are 22. Could either of them met through school? Now, that is an interesting point, too. They are all the same age, so there's something, too. Perhaps they swam in similar circles, which is also concerning, as I've kind of... We had the Zen stuff at the beginning of this, and then I know when we kind of early on, there was the weirdness about the Twigs and sort of Robinson, and there was kind of these illusions of like sort of maybe furry stuff or this or that. There might be some more to that we dig into. We'll breeze over it real quick in one of these other sub segments of today. Some of the weirdness about Twigs, but we might have to save that for a deep dive for another episode, because there's a lot of weirdness there. But my point being is, if we're creating connections amongst pedos, and they even said in there this guy was exchanging photos online. As I pulled from another article on the same thing here, it says he also admitted that a few times a week he would trade pictures online with other users. Just the idea of he's swapping. We have Howard Zinn, or is it George Zinn? I think it's George Zinn, the weird decoy guy who got busted for child porn after he ended up in the hospital after claiming he shot Charlie Kirk. Then he said to the cops in the hospital, "Oh yeah." He admitted to it, and they found it on his phone. So, and then there's a kind of, perhaps there may have been there's sinister undertones of something sort of in that vein, perhaps with the Twigs and other stuff. So my point being is, it's what the fuck? I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing connections, and they shouldn't be here. Here's Tyler, or Ken again. He's saying, total speculation, but since the hearing is about whether Tyler can wear street clothes, I'm guessing this guy might be a jailhouse snitch who will tell the court about Tyler wanting to kill himself or some other reason he should be kept in shackles. So where the shackles thing, the significance of that is that gives you the appearance of being guilty. Like when you have, that's what they've been doing, like particularly, especially with serial killers. That's not normal, apparently, when it comes to courts. It is not normal to drag people out in shackles and in their, their prison attire and all that, because they're supposed to be technically a free man. They're supposed to be innocent until, proven guilty or whatever. And typically, most of the time, they're able to come in and out of street clothes. But when you're in that attire, it gives this appearance of, oh, he's so dangerous. It's even crazy. A lot of serial killer stuff, the family was banned from many times. There was a commonality in these cases for families to be banned because you get to make them look like big bad people, and there's no one supporting, there's no one crying whenever anything's negative for them or this or that. So a lot of this is how you make things look. Now, with there not being maybe any cameras in the courthouse, maybe that makes things different. I don't know. But either way, another pedo has entered the story, which is particularly interesting, of course. Also, it's worthwhile mentioning that he was one of the Google Trends. People brought up the Google Trends thing. I don't know how much to put into all that, but apparently this guy is also another one of those people that was in those Google Trends thing. People were able to find him specifically under Jackson Thomas Fox, apparently. Take that for however much you want. They were finding this months prior. I guess May 18th through 24th, May 2025, just 4 months ago, they were searching for him. So I don't know what to make of that. Whatever, but interesting. Now let's move over to Candace. She's been getting more shit from people, particularly now, I guess they're accusing her of believing in lizard people. And so here's this clip to watch together. I'm not entirely sure if she does or not. Like I said, it's my first time watching it. So you guys tell me, does it seem like Candace believes in lizard people?
I'm telling you, I don't even think these people are human. Like I look at Elon Musk and Sam Altman and Peter Thiel, and I'm pretty sure they're hybrid. You know what I mean? Like they just look like an Apple software that I should be able to download at night, like my phone's getting an update or something. It's something in the eyes. Like, I don't know. I'm like, I know I'm human, but I don't know if I stabbed you if you bleed, I'm not going to stab them, but I don't know if they bleed all the way. I think a battery would fall out. You know what I mean? And I just get that sense. I've always known it was demonic, and people just get on board because, as we talked about in this book, they are using science and this idea of technology and this idea of transforming society for the better to indoctrinate us into accepting this. And it's wrong and it's backwards. And the main component of all of this is psychology, right? They're able to do it because of psychology, making you think that society has gotten better. Our kids have objectively gotten dumber. We've become fatter. We've become less healthy. We've become less emotionally sound. And yet they are convincing us that this is like humanity's great leap forward. We put a man on the moon, and he just like called them up and was like, hey, press, what's up? I'm up here. Yeah, it's so cool. It's really great. It's nice. Starry night up here. Okay, I'm gonna text you. I gotta go by in 69. And they get these people, they tell you like he's a genius. They're all writing like he's a genius. So we should just accept that Elon Musk is a genius, because like all the writers who are obviously indoctrinated into the occult are telling us that this is the next person that we should worship. The establishment of Hollywood, it was all occults. They were all Aleister Crowley proteges who were just raping kids and summoning demons, and demons are real. So at the same time that they're summoning demons, they are making us all believe that faith is not real. And that has been, I think, the greatest trick that the devil ever played, right? Is making people think that he didn't exist, and making people atheist, making people believe that there's nothing, like you're here for a moment in time, because then it allows them to further tether us to their reality and to their God, which is money, right? Well, if you truly knew and believed, like I do, I actually know that this is not it. Like I know this is not it. But if you truly believed that, you wouldn't sell your soul. People think that that's just like an expression. Oh, he sold his soul. No, you are literally selling your soul. Like when you tell lies and you go down a path of lying because you're so afraid of not having the security of a paycheck, or you're willing to do something terrible to maintain that job, or keeping your mouth shut to maintain that job. We're seeing it right now with the Charlie Kirk case, right? You're selling your soul. Like, there's a life after this. They have made you pledge your allegiance to their dollar because they know life is going on. They know that. They want you to literally sell them your soul. That's my personal belief. It's why I am religious. It's why I speak about, my faith openly, because I just know if this is not it. And I just know these people are demons. Like, I don't know. They just, like, look at the way they breathe. Like, you know what I mean? Same thing. I look at Sam Altman. I'm like, look, I don't know. But I know. That's not a droid, obviously.
Oh, and then she even said at the end there, it's not like I know, but I even joke around. I mean, I don't know. I did step away to go pee there for a minute, so like maybe I missed some and to grab my breakfast. I realized early on I accidentally left it over on the counter, so I wanted to grab a little snack. But I came back, I didn't catch anything that necessarily, I guess, literally asserting. It seems a lot of people are kind of jumping on this, these. I don't know, these, I mean, obviously this one's jumping on it in a conspiratorial way, but a lot of people have been using this to be like, oh, she fucking lost it. She lost her fucking mind. And I think she's somewhat playing with it and somewhat being silly. Although, I mean, I guess I don't even necessarily know exactly what her perspective is on, exactly on demons and stuff. So I think when he's accusing them of being hybrids or demons or whatever, I think to some extent she may sort of be playing fast and loose with the idea of he's consumed by a demonic spirit or something, and whether you want to say a spirit is an idea, an idea taken form to some degree, whether that be in the concept of an egregore, which the same idea. It's kind of it's a way to kind of describe something being a spiritual thing without really being I can conceptualize in it from a non-religious sense, the idea of these people being swept up by an egregore. Well, without taking it quite literally, and these people being I guess the semblance of lizard people or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, whatever. I don't think it's that crazy. I don't think this is that crazy. I mean, obviously, I know. I also wouldn't be that surprised if they are fucking lizard people. These are some weird motherfuckers. So I don't know. I think people are just jumping these things, making mountains out of molehills. She's just having fun that she's religious. So it makes sense that she might think these people are swooped up in some sort of weird fervor. It's also not that crazy, too, if she mentioned hybrids at the end. What does that mean? She might have been alluding to, transhumanism or something, because these people in particular are the sort of fucking weirdos that I do behind closed doors. I think they literally are I'm going to live forever. I literally think they think this sort of shit. So, I don't know. I think there's something to it. Perhaps these people are hybrids of sorts. But yeah, what do you guys think? You guys let me know in the chat. All right, on the Twigs stuff that I was telling you guys about before, this is sort of what I was leaning towards. This is Piper Truth, is a good account I found recently. It said, after watching this and reading the Substack, I'm of the opinion that Lance Twigs was a catalyst to Tyler Robinson's actions on 9/10. Said if Tyler was a shooter, since he's innocent until proven guilty. And he said, quote, magic nights, Lance went nuts, and the entire downstairs just became his nest. Experiments, growing mold in Tupperware and mugs. He says, thanks to Jester's Ghost for finding this. Video and Substack by Anon Bird, which is his Turkey Tom on YouTube, which is kind of a larger account. And now there's a Substack, which we may dig into tomorrow, but I did want to make you guys aware of this. That this is kind of a new angle, a new line of research I guess people are digging into recently, which, it was kind of open from the beginning, but apparently someone reached out to Turkey Tom, and he made a whole video. I watched it recently, and kind of someone who supposedly knows these people gave him some inside information, some weirdness about it. I'll be honest, I haven't dug into this yet enough, but we'll probably, maybe tomorrow, but I think it'll probably be it's quite the dig. Now, I will say to some extent from my just cursory looking through, I'm a little bit hesitant to really put a lot of stock into it, because it does seem to be kind of a sources say story, or maybe even very much so a sources say story. But I think perhaps there are things that do seem to corroborate with other stuff that have been released in the past. Other things that might sort of corroborate it. So I don't know. Anyways, I just feel like we need enough time to kind of flesh that one out a little bit, and kind of, is there anything to that? But there's there's definitely something to, or not, I guess, what am I trying to say? This is something we'll have to dig into. That apparently, it seems like Lance Lance, the Twigs, the little twink boyfriend, was having weird schizo outs where he was kind of getting super duper high, getting really bad on, like, it's kind of reminds me of some of the weird darker, like 76409A type of occult stuff, where people start, taking hardcore hallucinogenics and start trying to talk to entities and start like scribing down what they see and these sort of weird stuff, which I guess is kind of a weird rejoinder after the lizard people thing. It is kind of like, it's like these looked like Lance was trying to commune with those motherfuckers. So it's kind of what it looks like. Although this does kind of tie into the weird, dark, fucked up of that sort of stuff. So I don't really know. We'll once again, we'll go through all of these things together, but it does seem like there is something to that. This goes a very, very deranged man. And now, I guess, Tyler, it seems like the implication here is that Lance was the crazy psycho that, was getting weirdly off kilter politically and getting into some weird places. And then, but Tyler was kind of the weird, quiet, stoic one, but yet kind of a weirdo, kind of like almost this autistic. There's implications. I think he was some sort of virgin before getting with Lance, but Lance, I guess, was had a habit of getting fucked up and, cuddling with other men. And I think it seems like, you have somebody like a Tyler Robinson, a weird, nerdy virgin type, and then you have this touchy-feely friend, and they get fucked up together, and then next thing you know, they're boyfriend, and so that seems to be the story that's forming over there. Now, I do want to approach this with caution, so we'll probably dig through that tomorrow, because I don't know what degree to take this. Now, I will say that does make a lot more sense, and it does, if it is the angle, it does kind of then start leaning into, okay, maybe Tyler did have something to do with something in some way here. Maybe he legit just did do it as some sort of way to ease what he thought was Lance's suffering from his weird, mentally unhinged behavior. I don't know. Or who knows, maybe some entity out there was able to, through online interactions, kind of to some of the other threads we were talking about earlier, kind of got onto his radar and saw someone clearly not well and found someone easily easily manipulated. There you go. Sorry, that was weird. So, yeah, once again, we will dig into this probably tomorrow. And let me guys know if you even want me to or not. You guys can dig into this on your own time. This does get a lot into, screenshots of supposed, group chats, gets into pictures that he supposedly was doodling, odd notes he was, writing down while he was in the midst of like drug-fueled paranoia. Lots to unpack there, which we will probably come back to tomorrow. All right, another video. Apparently, there were also reports that people were being asked to delete their videos. This one's been doing the rounds, so let's watch this one together.
So originally when I sent this video into the FIB.
Or not counting gang violence. Great.
For tips, I thought I was doing a service and, to Charlie and helping out. So it started off where I got in contact, I was talking to someone at the local field office there in my local state. And then it jumped up a few levels. Then I was talking to someone on like the national level. That person had called me back and they had said, because this was your friend, I think it's best that you erase the video from your phone because it's just going to give you PTSD, and then called it another time to ask if I erased it. That was the first time that I felt like it was even right to post these videos. That was on my other account that was gone and just was removed after 5 years of building it. But so I got a call back and was asked to confirm that it was gone. And again, that's when I started sharing, posting, and saving on many different hard drives in many different places. It's been crazy. It's been rough.
All right, and a little follow-up on this. There's another video. Let's check this one from this guy. Once again, I don't know. This guy could be full of shit. So let's watch this.
Someone explain to me how you can literally have stuff on your phone, have a couple posts that you post on TikTok, still have 20 other videos that you've luckily saved on hard drives that aren't connected to the internet, and then they're all just gone from your phone. They're erased from your phone. Guys, you guys keep asking. We haven't seen anyone from this angle. People aren't talking from this angle. People aren't talking and posting their footage. People's footage is getting erased off their phones. People are being silenced. People are being targeted, and it's getting crazy, guys. I don't know where this comes from or what's going on, but yesterday I thought it was an overload because of the followers and comments and all this stuff like that. So I had to turn off my notifications, and then later on when I assessed the situation, I figured out, no, my phone turning different colors and feeling like it's lagging when I'm typing and all this weird stuff, and watching it type different things that I'm not typing, just a bunch of strange things. I know I sound like a cuckoo when I'm saying this, but woke up today and a bunch of my videos are gone, not from TikTok, from my library. So luckily I have one of my hard drives with them, and I'm gonna getting every video that I can out to you guys. Please save them, screen record them, spread them, do everything you can. Literally, they are coming after us.
All right. Well, according to this guy, to add further to his initial claims there, not only is he claiming that when the FBI came to talk to him about his bit of video, they asked him to delete it. They told him he should delete it, kind of wink, wink, and then even bugged him about it later, kind of be like, did you delete it? Did you delete it? And then not only that, now he's claiming that, then off of his phone, these things are deleted. Luckily, he said he had them in his hard drive. And this is one of the things I don't really know how you could prove. So this easily could just be someone, jumping on a story. Oh, I'll just go out there and claim that I had this video and they told me to delete it. And so, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have dug into this, if there's any truth to that, but this is what everyone's running with right now. Just going viral. I mean, I guess we could skim through here, see if anyone's debunked this out there. But this is just, one guy. So, I mean, heck, they're warning it too. Look, there's warning on it for might have sensitive content. Although, to be fair, I guess they did show the picture of Kirk, but you don't really see anything happening other than the shock running through his body in that one. So, although I don't know, I wouldn't be at least surprised. I know from my digging the Oklahoma City bombing, this was common where they'd kind of, I don't know if it'd say bully the witnesses, but they were kind of, oh, you should do this, you should do that, kind of guiding them towards conclusions. This is a tale as old as time. Completely unsurprised. All right, let's roll through the chat, see what you guys got to say, and then we'll get into our Epstein story. Justin says, I don't think the shutdown will last long beyond November 1st, but somebody is going to have to give in politically. Somebody's got to lose. Yeah, I think November 1st is when those EBT ones cut off, so that'll be interesting. We'll see. I don't know how much longer they can go after that. It should get pretty nuts. Good morning, Boomer Slayer. I was saying I low-key don't believe in that. I don't know what you're referring to, but okay. Good morning. Or watched a pretty good video last night about how his secret source might just be a Fed for Fire Pixie. Whose secret source are you talking about? Fire Pixie, I'm not sure. Oh, his secret source just might be a Fed. I don't. You brought it up again. Who are we talking about here? I was okay. Sorry, I'm confused. What you're referring to? Fire Pixie. All right. Okay, I don't see what you're talking about. I was trying to see if I can find more context for talking about Fire Pixie. All right, let's get into the Epstein stuff. I'll check in later, see what you're talking about. All right, let's get into, here's Rand Paul to kind of start off this Epstein conversation. Let's see what Rand Paul's had to say about it recently. I think it might be time to start pointing our attention a little bit to Rand. I think he might start getting some shit here soon. I mean, he already has, but I think the thermostat's going to start turning up for Rand here, so definitely going to be checking in on him. So let's watch this.
I want to move on to what's likely to be a very hot topic once the government does reopen, the Epstein files. You are among the wing of Republicans pushing for more transparency around this. House investigators recently posted another tranche of Epstein-related materials, including schedules and an interview with the former Labor Secretary Alex Acosta.
Real quick, I see Fire Pixie popped in. You're saying the guy named Barron that did all those geolocation Google looking at people Ian Carroll was talking about. Is that who you're talking about? You're saying had some sort of Fed source or something? Because I mean, he's just looking stuff up on Google. Now, I don't know how much I really buy that information. I mean, I struggle to buy, fucking tech information one way or the other because I feel like it's so easy to be lied to with it. But yeah. Anyways, let's get back in this clip.
Where he defended the 2008 plea deal. What did you learn from those releases, and what, in your opinion, is still missing here?
I think we need to make sure that people don't believe that just because you're rich, you may be able to get off. And I think that's what the Epstein files is about. It's about transparency, but it's also about the perception that rich people got away with something that a regular person wouldn't get away with. So I will continue to vote for transparency because I think that's the only way we restore trust in our judicial system.
I'm curious about how you see the balance between transparency, but also maybe some of the concerns that people have that releasing a ton of information, some of it potentially unverified, that could further fuel conspiracy theories.
Well, I think you have to be careful about revealing names of people accused of things, and it is difficult. So if you're being accused of having sex with underage women, it's something that could and should ruin your reputation. It's a very damaging thing. So if you're accused of it but never indicted, then the question is, really, was it an accusation that lacked evidence and you weren't indicted, or was it because you were rich? So what we have to figure out from this is, if there's 20 names of people who visited the island, just revealing them may well cast an aspersion that may or may not be true. So you have to be careful about revealing things. But at the same time, if the only reason you weren't indicted is because you're rich, we need to know that also. So I'm not saying it's easy. I am for more transparency, but exactly how it's done does need to be done in a proper fashion.
What's your advice to the White House about how to handle the Epstein case going forward? Because it's been a challenge for the administration.
I would say think back to everything you've done for the last 60 days and do the opposite. They have botched this thing continually. It was a big campaign thing. They love talking about this. Half of the people in the administration, this was their cause. This was their main thing in life that they talked about. It really hasn't been an issue I've been involved with until it was forced to the forefront. But the thing is, for many people, this was their number one issue. And they have a significant electoral body that supports them because of transparency on this issue and thinks there's something to find. So how could you botch it up worse than running a campaign on transparency and then appearing not to be transparent? They got into it. They're going to have to figure out how to way to get out of it. But almost everything they've done has made it worse.
All right, I see Fire Pixie clarify what she meant there in the chat. She said Turkey Tom. That's what she's referring to. I got confused. She said the guy he was talking with might be a Fed. The other guy pointed out. Yeah, that's kind of actually what I was driving at. It's like I want to dig in, get more into. I have only looked at a cursory look, not even really dug into any of the specific screenshots. It's I literally just kind of understand the basics of it. And from my understanding, that Turkey Tom story is literally some guy hit me up. He told me shit. And here are the screenshots he gave me. And then he was like, I think the thing that makes it, what I was implying earlier, but what may make it corroborate is some of those screenshots match up with screenshots we've received in other reporting, but a larger version of them. So point being is say you see an excerpt right here in some of the previous reporting we've seen from wherever, whatever assorted different thing. But then whenever he got this Turkey Tom guy got it from whoever this is, this source that's telling these things, he's getting here's the whole chat thread, and now you can see have a larger piece of as opposed to just the one little clip. So point being is you're this lends credence to this guy has access to the same information that this was being reported by privileged law enforcement type of outlets, I guess you could say, or ones that have special sources or whatever, is what I'm getting at. And then now this guy comes out, well, it's you could see that as here's one more voice corroborating those other things, or that also could be conveniently another one of those very same voices, the one leaking, that pushed that story to begin with, now reinforcing the story later. That's you know what I mean? Like, to your point of it being a Fed, like, because if you look at the story, from my understanding, I'm still yet to see anything that proves anything more. It's just more of the same. It's just as sources say, from my understanding. It's just a more, we're still at a, we don't know. This could just all be Fed info of weird different screenshots from this and that we're seeing from here and there. And that's it. And then we're like, when we're being given a story. I don't know. I mean, it could be legit, but it's like I haven't been given any sort of grounding information yet with that one to be able to really start from to go, we're on good ground here. We're not. And so I still hesitate to lean into that too much. So, but that is a thing that is out there. So maybe we'll dig into it tomorrow. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll see. Barron, who did those geolocations, pointed out and showed all these oddities with the secret source that totally pointed to him being a Fed. Okay, so that's, so you're connecting the two. You're saying the Barron guy who does the Google searches, I'm assuming, if I had to guess, he probably did other Google searches that point to this story or something that imply perhaps, that there was some sort of Fed. Yeah, I'll be honest. As I'm reading this, it's like this feels like could be just Fed shit. So, yeah. All right. Let me see. All right. Okay, let's keep going on this thread along Epstein. Here is Representative Anna Paulina. I just thought this would be a funny way to front load talking about Epstein. So here's what she's had to say recently about Trump. Of course, immediately the sound goes out. Give me a second. All right, here we go. Now watch.
I just got this sent to me. I'll read it. This actually was just posted in regards to Eric Cortellessa, who's a Time magazine reporter. He said, during my latest interview with President Trump, he made clear to Netanyahu the consequences if he capitulates to extremists in his coalition and moves to annex the West Bank. Israel would lose all of its support from the United States if that happened. So President Trump, a lot of people have tried to say that he's controlled, and he's not. And when people do that, that is such a cop-out response because, well, look at what he's doing. He is holding people accountable. No other president's been able to do that. So, I trust him more in foreign policy than any other.
Keep in mind, in the past, 24 or was it 48 hours, old Netanyahu ran it by the old Trumpy administration, CENTCOM particularly, and who was it, Witkoff, I think we said in the reporting. He ran it by them before they bombed some random motherfucker in Gaza. So that's where we're at now. It's a reminder, and we're about to get more into Epstein.
A member of Congress and any other, pundit
not
or
controlled.
I do as well. And by the way, that's big. That was just announced, right now.
Yeah, I'll show you. It's you can pull it up right now, and you should show it to your viewers. It's on ERICCORTELLESSA. Yep, right there, first one. That's just posted. Go down. There you go.
That one?
Yep.
During my latest interview with President Trump, he made it clear to Netanyahu the consequences if he capitulates to extremists in his coalition and moves to annex
the West Bank.
The West Bank, Israel would lose all of its support. I love that. I love that.
But that's what I'm saying. So many people were advocating for this peace deal not to work out and trying to say that he's controlled. And it's like, they are not the ones. It's like that famous poem, The Man in the Arena. They're not there. They're not seeing the backroom conversations and discussions. And this is the type of foreign policy we need.
Okay. All right. More from this. On the Epstein thread, here's PBD again, going on about, I guess, Trump's not worried about discovery in regards to that supposed, what I think was probably a sham lawsuit, and many of us think so, in reference to the Epstein birthday card thing against the Wall Street Journal. So let's see what PBD had to say about this.
I love that happened as well. President Trump sues Wall Street Journal for releasing whatever that letter is that he's saying is not accurate for $10 billion. Wall Street Journal's lawyers come to the president just yesterday ask him to please dismiss it. Trump goes to his lawyers and says, no, we're not settling.
Yeah, he shouldn't. It's slander.
Right. Go back and let's get to the bottom of this. So this is probably not a good look for Wall Street Journal. And this just shows that Trump is sitting there saying, hey.
By the way, I want to remind you guys with this Epstein birthday book, and this is actually something that I remember giving Charlie grief for, when this happened online. I remember this is one of the things I got him pretty good on that one. Fucking gave him a good little heater back when he was among the living. For this fucking shit right here, the Epstein birthday book, the influencers almost immediately, Charlie Kirk being at the fore, oddly enough. Now, in light of recent information, there may have been a gun sticking out behind, outside the frame. Who knows? But he was the going line initially was, that's not his signature. Not that it's fake, which I actually thought, like, when I first saw this, I immediately thought, oh, everyone's going to be like, is this some sort of AI fake or something? Because let's be real. Modern day, how hard would it be for AI to fake a signature? I feel like that would be pretty goddamn easy. Now, now this was not the case. I mean, as we've covered in this show, if you go, you can go. I'm not going to bring up any of those, but you can go look at side by side signature comparisons with the Epstein birthday book little signature that he made that was supposed to look like pubes. Totally matches up with his signature. Everyone jumped to the idea that apparently he has like at least two different versions of his signature. One that seems to be the full Donald J. Trump. One that seems to be, I believe, either just Donald or Trump. And I guess sometimes he signs with just a little shorthand one, and sometimes he goes the longer one. The birthday book, I believe, was the longer one. And so everyone was pointing out, oh, look, here's him with all his shorter ones. And everyone immediately going, oh, this isn't it. And they didn't go with fake, which I thought was retarded. You'd think that would have been the easy way to go. So keep that in mind. It 100% was it was like it 100% was what appears to be a signature if you look at it side by side. Now, could it be an AI fake? Sure, why not? But I just find it funny that was not the angle anyone went with. I just want to remind people of that before we moved on.
You think this is real? So the market can look at this and say, President Trump's not worried about discovery. Holy shit. So maybe that's not real. This is not a good look for Wall Street Journal that they're coming wanting to dismiss this to be done with. So I love that happening. We're worried about discovery.
It's also a $10 billion lawsuit too, which is crazy. Maybe we'll have to make a segment of this another time too, but there is definitely also this going thing with the Trump administration, which is particularly interesting, where they seem, funny enough, what was the going thing? And during the Biden administration and even before, like, oh, all this lawfare, the weaponization occurring against Trump. And what are they doing now that they're in? Exactly that. There are all sorts of, claims, particularly. Maybe we'll cover this in our, maybe I meant to cover this today, but maybe we'll later. But apparently Michael Wolff is suing Trump now. So I think that kind of ties into all of this. But anyways, and part of the reason why he's suing Trump is because they were essentially making threats of frivolous lawsuits, particularly against Michael Wolff. And I guess that's a thing you can do some places. And essentially, it's a slap lawsuit, I think is what it is, which is essentially meant to essentially work against spurious sorts of suits. So if someone's suing you, it's essentially the equivalent of like a countersuit, except before it's even been done. The idea if someone's out there threatening you with lawsuits, you can slap them with a slap lawsuit where you go, hey, fuck you, you can't freeze my speech, you can't like chill my speech for legal. And it's even more so wild when it's coming from the leader of the free world, the head of the executive branch. That you have these lawsuits, these spurious lawsuits that have happened. There's been a whole bunch of them. Maybe we'll have to dig into the stats and see what we can confirm has been done, what hasn't. But there's been a lot of what seems to be weird. While I'm not a fan of the corporate media, these weird attacks on the media. So I don't know, just find it interesting. All this stuff, odd, and then so he's hitting them with this retarded fucking lawsuit. I struggle. I doubt this thing too. So, because the Wall Street Journal tried to get it dismissed, and Trump's saying he's still proceeding with it. I don't know. Maybe we'll get more of the weeds on this one in the future one, but I still not buying it. Put a big old doubt on that one. But in other news, although we'll see how this is connected to all of this, here is Timothy Mellon. He's the billionaire heir who reportedly just gave $130 million so our troops wouldn't miss a paycheck. He lives in Wyoming and hasn't even had his photo published in decades. This is a rare example of a billionaire funding the government, not lobbying it. Oh, wow. How beautiful is that? A billionaire giving $130 million so our Trumps wouldn't miss a paycheck, which That on its face is already a fucking retarded statement. Well, who the fuck is this guy? Well, he's the Mellon guy. Well, this is it's Timothy Mellon, whose father is Paul Mellon, who's a billionaire philanthropist. He appears twice in the Epstein flight logs from the 90s. Now his son is Timothy Mellon. He's the donor who just gave $130 million during the shutdown. So yeah, this is the son of someone who was on the Epstein list. So not quite on the Epstein list. You can see here is an excerpt from the Epstein list, the flight log or whatever, I think. Particularly, you can see here, let me see, Paul Mellon, 2 females, Paul Mellon, 2 females, 1090, 1091, I think here. I don't know the specific flight numbers. Those are the different flight numbers. You can track the flight number. You can see at least 2 here. JG, Paul Mellon, 2 females. Looks like Carolyn, 1090, then 1091. JE, Paul Mellon, 2 females. And I think that's the only ones I see there. But either way, so he flew on with Epstein. There's also more to it too. Here's the Shallow State. It says, what's in the Epstein files is so damning and elicits so much fear amid a few wealthy individuals, one of whom is president, that we might not see the House reconvene for weeks, months, or ever. Another Epstein panicked elite is Tim Mellon, who is being lauded for paying $130 million for U.S. troops. He's the heir to, among other things, Bank of New York, formerly Bank of New York Mellon, which is being charged by Epstein survivors for enabling the trafficking network. The $130 million isn't enough to pay Jack for the troops, so what is it for? A bribe to keep the White House shut down? Also, Tim Mellon's father is Paul Mellon. He's in the Epstein flight logs, listed with 2 identified females. So, not looking good. This Mellon guy, not looking great at all. Oops, accidentally exited out of it. Give me a second. Let me bring back the tabs. Let me see. Here we go. And then here's more kind of on this same thread of thought. This is from Amber Speaks Up. She says, the overlap no one's talking about who's funding Trump's $300 million ballroom and how Epstein's network keeps reappearing. So now we haven't talked about the ballroom here yet on this show, which, I mean, that in and of itself is wild. Apparently, I think they're knocking down like the entire East Wing to create this fucking atrocious ballroom of Trump's. It's pretty gross. I've seen some of the pictures, just like this gold, bright white, just ghost, just gross. But pretty wild, crazy that they're just destroying a huge piece of history like that. But at the same time, who really gives a fuck? I don't really give a shit all that much. It is wild, but there is odd money things going on with all this too. With this new ballroom comes funding opportunities, and that seems to be a space for concern. Now, as she says here, Amber, she says the donor list for Trump's $300 million ballroom reads like a who's who of corporate America. Meta, Palantir, Lockheed, Apple, T-Mobile, Coinbase, and more. But look closer, a handful of these names or the individuals behind them also appeared in the Epstein of orbit. She says, let's be clear up front. Connection doesn't mean criminality, but the recurrence of the same financial and social networks and proximity to power matters, especially when those networks intersect with the world's most notorious trafficker and supposed intelligence asset. Now, she says, who's helping pay for Trump's $300 million ballroom? She shared a little infographic here. We have Altria Group Incorporated. So essentially, these outsource the funding for this new ballroom to all of these corporations, a lot of which I think like it is literally like branding opportunities, in my understanding. So I don't know if we're going to see a fucking future White House ballroom with fucking, I don't know, Coinbase, spoons and Lutnick family, fucking whatever. Anyways, but you get the idea. It's just kind of, I don't know, like, well, I'm a capitalist in the anarcho-capitalist sense of the word. It's still something about this is weird. So you got Amazon, Apple, Booz Allen Hamilton, Caterpillar, Coinbase, Comcast, the Fanjul family, Hard Rock International, Google, HP, Lockheed Martin, Meta Platforms, Micron Technology, Microsoft, NextEra Energy, Palantir, Ripple, Reynolds American, T-Mobile, Tether America, Union Pacific Railroad, the Adelson family, Stephen Brody, Betty Wold Johnson Foundation, the Cascarilla family, the Glazer family, Harold Ham, Benjamin Leon Jr., the Lutnick family, the Laura and Isaac Perlmutter Foundation, Stephen A. Schwartzman, Konstantin Sokolov, Kelly Loeffler and Jeff Sprecher, Paolo Tirmani, Cameron Winklevoss, and Tyler Winklevoss, which I think those are the Facebook people, if I recall correctly. Bill Gates met with Epstein multiple times after his 2008 conviction. He's called it a huge mistake. Epstein pitched him on charitable ventures, including the Gates Foundation. Sergey Brin and Larry Page, that's Google. Both men are named in J.P. Morgan's 2023 filings as high net worth clients. 5, Peter Thiel, co-founder of Palantir, now a major donor. Epstein invested early in Thiel's venture capital fund via intermediary vehicles, part of his push to buy influence in Silicon Valley. Yeah, the Epstein estate is still literally making money off of Peter Thiel, which is kind of nuts. To the tunes of over $100 million. I believe there was a tens of $1 million investment, and now they are in the over hundreds. I believe almost 200, if I remember correctly. Also, Pepe Faneuil, social with Epstein and Leon Black. His sugar empire has long ties to elite Republican fundraising. The Winklevoss brothers, they acknowledged publicly that they met with Epstein a half dozen times. Oh, no, they have an indirect tie to George Church. Okay, that one's a little bit weak. No one's saying these donors committed crimes of any kind, but to say why the same power networks that financed Epstein's philanthropy are now financing a sitting president's private construction in the White House grounds. Money is access, access is influence, and Epstein's shadow still runs through both. Transparency isn't optional when private billionaires are funding a large addition to the people's house. So we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars here, yeah, these are all people with with certain interests in mind. All right, another clip on the Epstein debacle. Here's Julie K. Brown, who actually was one of the initial people that kind of covered a lot of this stuff. So go dig into her work if you want to dig into some of the background of Epstein. But let's watch this clip. Alan Dershowitz has some frankly insane things to say.
Now, the one point I do want to make is that I understand all the feminist groups and the radicals who think this is the worst thing in the world, that anybody ever had any contact with Jeffrey Epstein. Where are all those radical feminists when it comes to the Hamas rapes of young Jewish girls, sexual abuse, beheadings? They are quiet. They are silent. The incredible hypocrisy of the Me Too movement. Me Too, except if you're a Jew. And I want to have a list of all the radical feminists who are pushing hard, and I understand that, to get all these names revealed. And I want to know how many of them have ever actually condemned Hamas for the rapes that we now know occurred and the murders that occurred. How many have been silent, and how many, like the National Lawyers Guild, have actually approved of what Hamas did? So let's put this in context. I'm thrilled that all these papers have come out. I urged them. I went to court. I asked for everything to come out because I knew that I had done nothing wrong, and the papers would exculpate me. What I only worry about is that maybe the judges withheld certain documents. I want to make sure every single document comes out, including the documents that cast doubt on the credibility of some of the accusers and some of the accused. The public has the right to see everything and make their own judgment. We do not country in guilt by accusation, but guilt by association.
All right, so he's trying to push off guilt, saying he wants to have a list of all the radical feminists who are pushing hard to get the names from the Epstein list revealed. Well, that's quite the spin there, Alan, but I don't think it's going to fly. Not really working at all. All right, let's roll through the chat, and let's get through the last one. All right. Wow, Fire Pixie, getting a little dirty in the mouth. It says, shut your filthy Jew mouth, she says. All right, let's get into the last story of the day. This is kind of a grab bag of odd stories. I call this Cui Bono is the name of this thread. Kind of centering around, particularly, we're going to get into the money networks that attacking Massey, because I do think this kind of ties into a lot of the stuff going on right now. Big thanks to Mark Vestibule for finding me that one a while ago. And then also I think Matt Wolfson, who's the writer, follower of my account. So, but anyways, let's start off though, before we get into that one, to kind of remind you that, kind of Cui Bono, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Here's Ken Silva, who says, DOJ has finally provided the defendant at the center of the so-called Iranian plot to kill Trump with key discovery, more than 14 months after he was arrested. Of note here is that the FBI used Israeli spyware Celebrite to access his phone, just like with Routh and Crooks. Just an odd little commonality there. So it's something that we just got revealed just now from Discovery. So this is one of the supposed claims of this supposed Iranian plot that was happening in the background. Well, the individual, they were using Israeli spyware to spy on them, just like they were with Routh and Crooks. Maybe that's just standard. Then a little bit of a brush up on what this is about. This is a thief merchant, Pakistani man busted for hiring 2 undercover FBI agents to be hitmen in an Iranian-sponsored assassination plot against Donald Trump. He was held in solitary confinement until freezing cold squalid conditions since his July 12th arrest. And obviously, I don't know if he ended up coming out. That this is from a while ago. This post is from back in December from Kem. So this is and he's saying this is a case people like Mike Walls are trying to tie to Butler. So this is the one they weekly, like they throw this in as Iranian connection. They point that, Iran has tried to kill him in the past, and this is extremely dubious. And they were trying to keep a lid on it. We're 14 months later now, and we're just now getting discovery on this. So in an order putting Merchant on extreme restrictions, the BOP director Colette Peters admitted that law enforcement has not identified any IRGC associates of Merchant operating in the U.S. who could continue to orchestrate violent acts. So anyways, we've dug into this one in the past. This is one that looks pretty dubious. I mean, maybe more stuff will come out in the future that's like, the feds were legit here. But that does not look like is the case. And we are just now getting discovery almost a year later. And, looky here. We see some Israeli fingerprints. But that's completely unrelated here, right? Let's get into the main sort of nexus of conversation here. Who's funding the attacks on Thomas Massie, and what networks are backing them? Now, I would say these same networks are likely going to be and are probably already somewhat at Rand's throat right now, but I do think he's probably going to be the prime focus of attention, as I've been mentioning. Whenever the government finally does open back up and they do finally, swear in Adelita Grijalva from Arizona into Congress, and they finally take the Epstein discharge vote and they get all their votes, then it's going to have to go to the Senate. And then the next big guy there who's going to be probably leading the charge will be Rand. I mean, we just played that clip of him, and he did not seem to like how the Trump administration has been treating this. But this is from Matt Wolfson over at the Libertarian Institute. He says, in the past decade of political upheaval, less than a handful of successful candidates have laid down direct challenges to America's military-industrial complex. Thomas Massie, the U.S. congressman from Kentucky's 4th District, is first and foremost among them. In June, President Donald Trump announced an open season on Massie for the perceived crimes of having voted against the deficit-busting Big Beautiful Bill and opposing Trump's strike on Iran because they occurred without authorization from Congress. Open season in this case meant the formation of a MAGA PAC run by Trump's former campaign manager Chris LaCivita for the sole purpose of beating Massie. LaCivita is part of a class of MAGA strategists and lobbyists who live in Washington on airplanes but style themselves America First frontiersmen. They are the 180-degree opposites of Massie, who represent a district where he's lived for most of his life, minus a 4-year stint at MIT and some time after. But what these operators lack in authenticity, they make up for with capital, which comes not from MAGA, but from long-standing power players who operate with a simple aim: to silence dissent against the American military-industrial complex's most reliable client and investor, Israel. On August 1st, Congressman Massie tweeted, said, the group attacking me, MAGA Kentucky, is funded entirely by 3 billionaires. One gave millions to transactivism and Soros-backed Open Borders Group and even funded the Russia hoax. Another is in Epstein's Black Book and did a fundraiser for Senator Schumer. So, and then he's sharing a tweet from somebody else. So there's the funders, the anti-Massie Super PAC, Miriam Adelson's PAC, John Paulson, and Paul Singer. So this is true and understates the case. The 3 billionaires are Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson. And they are part of a group of Zionist operators who have used finance and philanthropy for distinctly political ends since the late 1980s and early 1990s. Chameleonic backing of both Democrats and Republicans is integral to their approach, but their political promiscuity flows from underlining fidelity to the Zionist state. The inverse of this fidelity is that their enemies are everyone, right or left or libertarian, who oppose America's commitment to Zionism. The roots of this group's influence lie with the creation in New York more than 30 years ago of the study group. This was an informal club of a score of financiers, some with connections to Jeffrey Epstein, which had its purpose channeling Zionist philanthropy to encourage Jewish intermarriage and identification with Israel. What the studies group's co-founder Charles Bronfman and another member, Michael Steinhardt, took from their sessions and other involvements was the idea for birthright. The foundation, which beginning in 1999 funded any American Jew between 18 and 26 who wanted to visit Israel to connect to Zionism. So we're seeing these connections between the groups that literally pay for people to go there. 2 years after its founding in 1999, Birthright acquired a distinctly political use. In the eyes of Israel's longest-serving consul general in New York, 9/11 had heightened the level of anxiety associated with the Middle East, and Israel coupled with it. This made Israel more reliant for its positioning on the tremendous taglit factor among Jewish Americans. The number one emotional agent Israel possesses, but the emotional agent of Birthright was not all that Birthright founders thought Israel needed from America at the turn of the century. In early 2001, Steinhardt, Bronfman, and the other members of the study group also developed the think tank Emet, Hebrew for truth, until its name was changed to the less noticeable Foundation for Defense of Democracies. The purpose of the think tank was to increase American support for Israel's response to the Palestinian Intifada and to advocate for a strong American military presence in the Middle East. In 2002, Steinhardt took an ownership stake in the New Republic, Washington's most powerful political magazine. Steinhardt was a Democrat and the New Republic a nominally liberal magazine. Both, as I have reported elsewhere, have been key backers of Bill Clinton and Al Gore, who managed the Democrats' decisive turn to Zionism in the 90s. But during the 2000s, Steinhardt and the New Republic pushed a foreign policy line more in sync with the W. Bush White House than their purported party. It was a solid foundation for Zionist political engagement that seeded the ground for newer players like Sheldon and Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer and John Paulson, all of them financiers, all of them George W. Bush Republicans, and all of them united by their ties to Israel. By the 2010s, Birthright's top donors were the Adelsons. Sheldon Adelson, a casino magnate, had until the turn of the century been a minor player in Zionist philanthropy. Then in the 90s, he married Miriam Farbstein, Israeli physician, and beginning his donations with her in earnest in the 2000s. So that's interesting to note that Sheldon it didn't really seem to get into this until his old lady got involved. The Adelsons and Singer, a Zionist hedge fund manager who made his name investing in the distressed debt of dozens of companies, were also top donors of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And Singer and Paulson, a Zionist hedge fund manager known for betting against mortgage-backed securities in 2008, that's interesting, were funding the much more venerable think tank, the Manhattan Institute, which had been founded in 1977 by then New York banker and future CIA director William J. Casey, tellingly spent his CIA years in the 1980s participating in plays like Iran-Contra and the Bechtel pipeline to strengthen America's presence in the Middle East. Okay, so that's interesting. If I'm understanding correctly here, all right. So let me see. This is trying to understand what I just read there. Again, the Manhattan Institute, they were funding. Okay, so Singer and Paulson, they were funding the Manhattan Institute. Okay, that's what the key thing to take away from there. And the Bechtel pipeline to strengthen America's presence in the Middle East. All these financial political operations were tied directly and indirectly the first generation of influential American Zionists, people like Roy Cohn, Bruce Rappaport, and Maurice Hank Greenberg. The Roy Cohn's of significance. Trump's noted their closeness many times and his respect for him. Many people point to him as a mentor. Roy Cohn was known for blackmail rings, particularly of the homosexual variety. The Foundation for Defense of Democracy and the New Republic were, in the aftermath of September 11th, key movers with lines of the Bush White House and the Republican Party, helping push the initiation of the global war on terror and the 2003 invasion of Iraq. In the 2010s, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies was the signature opponent of Barack Obama's nuclear non-proliferation agreement with Iran. It was also arguably the most influential pusher behind the rescinding of the agreement and the imposition of new sanctions on Iran during Donald Trump's first term. By this point, some of the foundation's main funders, the Adelsons, were along with Paulson channeling their influence directly toward Trump, a figure from an overlapping New York Palm Beach milieu. Paulson was an early and enthusiastic backer of Trump's, and Miriam Adelson's, also a donor since 2016, became one of Trump's largest financial backers in 2020 and 2024. Singer, a Nikki Haley backer, prominently switched to Trump in 2024 and used his influence to urge others to do the same. The reward for their engagement has been the White House's unequivocal backing for Israeli actions abroad and unprecedented crackdown on anti-Zionism at home. Even as the White House seems to favor their approach, these players have expanded their structural influence in Trump's movement via the strategic use of money institutions. One case in point is Singer and Paulson's aggressive mobilization of the Manhattan Institute to influence not just the White House, but the Republican Party. According to Bloomberg, reporting in 2024, business figures led by Singer have poured nearly $200 million into a New York think tank that's now projecting its own vision for Trump's America. Paulson is the Institute's third largest donor. This vision for Trump's America functions to narrow Republicans' platform to three focuses: opposing DEI and progressive culture, supporting Bush-era finance and tax policies, and supporting Israel. In this push, the Institute has ceded connections to state governments. A growing number of Republican state houses are effectively outsourcing the job of drafting laws about race and gender to the Institute. It has fired fellows who take a different line in Israel and has thrown its support behind a prominent MAGA-aligned operative, Chris Rufo, who made his name opposing DEI programs and whose current political project is not populist empowerment, but to win the wheat. I don't know what the hell happened there. Win the elite, and so win the regime. Another case in point is Singer's support for the Museum of the Bible, a Washington, D.C. nonprofit largely funded by the Green family, owners of the Hobby Lobby, known for the devout Christianity. This seems on its face like an odd alliance for Singer, an outspoken proponent for gay marriage. Of gay marriage. But the Green family is not just Christian, but Christian Zionists. And tellingly, Singer's contributions to their museum funds trips by Christians to Israel. Nor is this the limit of Singer's interest in conservative cultural politics. One of the Manhattan Institute's close allies is Leonard Leo, the former chair of the Federalist Society, now invested in a $1.6 billion effort to Christianize Hollywood via products like Amazon's recently released House of David, a miniseries from the biblical story that fits comfortably within the Christian Zionist schema. Christian Zionism, tellingly, is also a primary focus of other MAGA-initiated allies of Leonard Leo's, like the Daily Wire is Ben Shapiro and the Free Press's Barry Weiss. Shapiro and Weiss's unquestioning loyalty is to Zionism. The regressive concept of Republican politics centers on prosecuting culture wars, supporting what they call free markets, but often government-subsidized conglomerates, and supporting Israel. Their main sources of funding are Israel supporters in Texas and Silicon Valley. The flip side of this aggressive Zionist push for a certain version of republicanism has been attacking those more structural Republican thinkers who believe in anti-interventionism, decentralized government, and anti-corporate politics, most prominently Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. What these politicians want to talk about is not mainly culture or race or gender. What they want to talk about is power and the way in which corporations tied to DC have driven endless financialization of our economy, endless wars abroad, to the detriment of popular sovereignty and limited government. This is, of course, the last thing the Republican Zionists want to talk about, because financialization and war backed by New York and Washington are the guarantors of the Zionist project. How are the players and motives behind the aggressive attacks on Massey and Greene not more obvious and not more noted? From the 80s till today, powerful Zionist networks have managed to stay above the political fray, even as they engage aggressively in it, thanks to their ties to powerful institutions that frame political or public narratives, media, universities, and Hollywood. In the years when Zionist networks first became political, the New York Times was under the daily management of A.M. Rosenthal, a committed Zionist and an intimate of Roy Cohn, which CBS was owned in the 1980s and the 90s by Lawrence Tisch, a member of Bronfman's study group. The Times editorial page editor in the 2010s, Rosenthal's son, Andrew, identifies with Zionism. And CBS News has been owned for much of the last 2 decades by Sherry Redstone, a Zionist tied via business and philanthropy to the Bronfmans. The late Bernard Marcus, the founder of Home Depot and one of the top donors of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, provided the funds for the first master's degree program in Israel education in the U.S. at George Washington University. Michael Steinhardt, Charles Bronfman's late brother Edgar Bronfman, and John Paulson have their names on buildings at New York University, and Harvard School of Engineering and Applied Sciences bears Paulson's name. Steven Spielberg, arguably still Hollywood's most prominent director-producer, was an attendee of Bronfman's study group. This quiet institutional co-option is why actions that are distinctly anti-democratic, billionaire operators connected to disastrous wars and funding relentless attacks on politicians who oppose them have acquired the status of conventionality, even respectability. But now, with Israel on the cusp of geopolitical opportunities in the Middle East and of growing marginalization among the American public, these players are making their essentially political purpose plainer to those who care to look. What looking deeply reveals is cause for further support and alarm and is the subject of a coming report. Namely, an ideological agenda is being pushed by a small number of players connected to the study group, the most representative of whom has been Jeffrey Epstein. These players started in finance and have worked their way into politics, culture, intellectual life, and philanthropy, and corrupted those spheres on behalf of the Zionist cause, co-opting in the process both the Jewish tradition and the American Republic. And this is from Michael Wolfson over at the Libertarian Institute. I thought it was a good dive into kind of the financial specifics, or like kind of where things are coming from over in the halls of power. And then kind of finish this off, I thought we'd kind of go with a few weird ones. Here is, this is one I kind of, if anything, I'm more or less throwing this out to you guys. What the fuck? Do you guys know anything about this? Kind of in this, like, this is sort of as an afterthought with the Cui Bono stuff. This kind of ties into, you can kind of, other weird stuff, odd arrests, deaths. I have a couple of those. It kind of fits into like, what the fuck is going on here, I guess. Here is Robert Morris. He was just sentenced to 6 months in prison for sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl. Now, apparently this is a spiritual leader of Trump, so I figured we'd maybe look into that, see to what degree that's true. Here's him being walked out.
I'm just happy that it is over. I feel good about it. It's behind us. What does this do? Like, I don't know that I have words for that yet.
All right, so that's that. Now here's Trump, I guess, some statements he said, so people are sharing this around.
I want to thank Pastors Robert Morris and Steve Dullen. They're great people. Great people with a great reputation, I have to say that. Great reputation.
Okay, well, so we have Trump saying this, which, I'll be honest, I don't know if this really means anything. What does this mean by this guy being a spiritual influencer? Let's look at the article, I guess. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe they'll provide something in here that gives some more to this supposed connections, or we can at least look into the specifics here. Oh, never mind. The Dallas Morning News costs money, so who cares? Just kidding. I hate it when they do that. Did I exit out too? I think they exited me out of my original. Anyways, I didn't even mean to exit out of that tab, and it exited out for me. Crap. But yeah, so what is it? Robert Morris. I'll look that up actually real quick. Robert Morris. See if I can find a other thing for him real quick, because I didn't mean to lose the original piece there. Robert Morris. Let me see. Oklahoma.gov. All right, here we go. We'll look at this instead. This is from the Oklahoma Attorney General. Mega church founder pleads guilty to child sex abuse charges. So the founder of a Texas mega church pled guilty today to 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts with a child stemming from incidents that date back to the 80s. Okay, so the abuse began in December 1982 when Morris was a traveling evangelist visiting the family of the victim in Hominy. The victim was 12 years old at the time. The abuse continued over the next 4 years. Okay, so that's what he was busted for. Let me see what we can find for connections to Robert Morris and Trump. Can we find anything on that? I don't know if there's really, how much is there? Let's see if I can find, I'll just real quick Google search. Did we find anything? Let's see. Disgraced former pastor of this is Google AI. What do they have here? He served as a spiritual advisor to Donald Trump and was a member of his evangelical advisory board. Their connection became a matter of public scrutiny following Morris's guilty plea in October 2025 for child sex abuse. Funny thing is they actually said he was Evangelical Advisory Board. I actually have had, we were talking about Christian Zionists the other day. This wasn't the person I necessarily had in mind that I was talking about when I talked about this, like these like Booker emails I'm getting. But I've been getting one, and one of them is they laud him as like one of the people on his advisory board. I don't know what that means. I think it sounds like some made up shit by some pastors or something. And I'm sure the White House for some reason gave it seal of approval or whatever. I'm just saying I don't know. Now, key connection, spiritual advisor and evangelical board. In 2016, Trump named Morris to his evangelical executive advisory board. He remained a spiritual advisor through Trump's term. Trump's campaign reappearance in June 2020, Morris hosted then-President Trump at his Gateway Church in Dallas for a roundtable on transition to greatness. Trump referred to him as a great person with great reputation. That's what the clip we just watched. After allegations, in June 2024, Trump's campaign distanced himself. Spokesperson told the New York Times that Morris had no role in Trump's re-election campaign. And that's it. So I really actually think there's not a whole, maybe there's more there that we don't know of, but if we're going to be good faith people here, I don't see a whole lot. Now, another weird one. I'd be interested if you guys found anything on this one. Apparently, let's go ahead and watch this. Apparently Mitt Romney's sister-in-law fucking went kersplat on the pavement. 1 second. Of course, the video went out. Here we go. All right, we're back. All right, let's start this over. This is Carrie Romney, sister-in-law of Mitt Romney, was found dead outside a multi-level parking garage in Santa Clarita, California. I'm showing some pictures of the area, which, I don't know, whatever. She jumped from a 5-story parking garage in L.A. Which, okay, I don't know what the hell the point of this video was. I assume there'd be something more there. They're showing the lights in the parking garage. So I don't know, you can get an idea. I mean, obviously you don't see the body or anything, but you can get an idea of the area. But update on this. Apparently, this is Carrie Romney. Mitt Romney's sister-in-law was found dead after she jumped or fell from a 5-story parking garage in L.A. She was reportedly going through a nasty divorce at the time of her death. She had filed for divorce 4 months prior from George Scott Romney, who is Mitt Romney's older brother. Now this is Scott Romney right here. He's a prominent attorney in Michigan and also the father of Ronna Romney McDaniel, who was the chair of the Republican National Committee from 2017 to 2024. Now, obviously, I mean, this could just be a troubled person jumping off a building. It also could have been this guy killed her because of divorce reasons. Who knows? Doesn't necessarily have to be tied into anything else larger, but it's interesting every now and then when you see these sort of things. Also particularly interesting that apparently suicides by jumping are less than 3% of female suicide deaths. So not a very likely way for a female to go out. So if there's anything you guys find in that, feel free to pass along the word because I haven't found anything. It's just suspicious. That's it. And I figured it was worthwhile throwing it at the end of a weird segment like this. With that, guys, we've gone on a little bit long in the tooth. I need to get out of here. Love you all. Let's check through the chat. See what else there is in there. Anything interesting? Kind of ignored the chat a little bit near the end because I was trying to get through the content. Bump up those likes. Apparently, you guys were almost to 40 a little bit ago. Bump that shit up. Help a brother out. Good morning, Bug Fights. Good to see you in here. All right. Let me see. There's an empty seat to be filled in the House of Representatives, said John Black. It's Tennessee 04, and it's a Republican plus 43. It will affect Massey's push for the Epstein vote. The guy that will win that is a Trump hand-picked guy. That's an interesting point. Who knows? Maybe they pull some shenanigans off and get back and somehow are able to, whatever, figure out a way to get out of having to reveal that stuff, despite the fact it seemed inevitable. Good morning, mass genocide. Good morning. Bronfman, boycott Seagrams. Yes, 100%. Don't drink alcohol because you are funding literally pedophile elite. This is what you're probably doing. Almost all alcohol, Seagrams, I believe. At least it seems like it. They got a vast majority of alcohol. If you're drinking alcohol out there, you're probably fucking drinking some Seagrams. Good morning. Or I already said good morning to you. But he's saying Cohn was connected to Reagan as well from Justin Valentine. Yes. Yes, he was. Good morning, Jay Cortez. Good to see you in here. Let me see if there's anything else in here, and then we'll get out of here. Good morning, Rupert. Says, have you looked into sexual abuse cases around Pastor Rob McCoy's cover? No, the fuck I haven't. Please, if you could tag me or something. I almost want to make a mental note of that to look into it myself, because I feel like I'm going to forget about it as soon as we leave here. But I did not know that was a thing. That is particularly very interesting. Mikey's dad is fired, Pixie points out. Mikey, the chief of staff or whatever, the chief of something of Kirk, was with him the entire day. And then the moment that Kirk got popped, he just did the most bizarre, just kind of casual turn around and, walk away like nothing happened, which, weird. All you can say that is weird. Good morning, Rotting Jules. Says the Dawn has a trend of shady spiritual leaders and advisors. You ain't kidding. I know old Pam Bondi with the old sciencey stuff for sure. Good to see you in here, Dana. Good morning. Martin Max says every day something happens that makes me more convinced Trump diddled kids. Yep. Every day we grow closer to thinking Trump fucked children. Yes, every single day. Everyone's saying hi to Dana in there. I think we're about to wrap up though. Especially off of parking garage in Santa Clarita. Oh, I didn't even think about Santa Clarita. Doesn't that have a lot of weird connections? The name comes up a lot. I can't remember what in what though, but I know it is one of those spooky regions. So yes. Justin pointed out how jumped or fell, but definitely not pushed. Ruled out pushed immediately. Yep, right. Isn't that weird? A little weird. All right. Let me see what else we got in here. All right. Rob McCoy's grandpa ran Navy Intel psychological warfare. And then Bubba says Mitt Romney's technically Mexican. You are right, actually. That is an interesting little side tangent. For those who aren't aware, Mitt Romney, he is Mormon, and he is of the the fucking we don't fuck around, we're about that life segment of Mormons. Like his dad was like down in Mexico doing gang shit with all the other fucking Mormons, just, grouping up, getting a bunch of wives and fucking gunning down the cartels and shit. Like, I'm being a little bit silly. I don't know enough of it, but there's a lot of wild stuff that happened with Romney's family in that region. Because apparently, I think at a point in time, they weren't allowed to have the multiple wives, and so some of them broke off and went down to Mexico, so that was part of it. So, yeah, weird stuff. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Love you all. For those who want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the audio podcatchers. You can find it on Twitter as well, which I am there at Tower Gang Jose if you want to follow me. And if you want to support the show the best way you can, that's with money over here. I forget which side am I on. Where are we at? I got to go back. We're over here. There's the QR code. Go over that QR code right there, and you can support the show over at patreon.com/nowayjose2020. Actually just got a mid-show today. I got a new sponsor. So I don't know what you want me to call you by, so I'm not going to dox you right off the jump, but I appreciate you know who you are. I appreciate you. That's sponsor level. That's $20 a month. So hell yeah, dude. You hit me up. Let me know how you want me to plug you. But big ups for that. Appreciate it. But the low level, you don't have to pay as much as this guy, but he does get the perk of me reading his name off every episode. But if you don't want all that, if you don't want the glory of your name being said on No Way Jose, well, what you can do, if you just want some little perks or just support the show or whatever, or maybe if you don't even care about supporting the show, you just want the perks. You just like the show. You don't give a fuck about supporting it, though. You want it to be your own little dirty little secret. But you want to get some of the stuff early. You want to get some additional perks if you love the show. Well, then patreon.com/nowayjose20. The $2 level gives you access to early episodes. I usually do about 1 to 2 episodes per week. I should be actually going right now, the Ian Miles Walken one. I'm trying to fiddle with shorter ones. I know that one's probably a little rough, the one that's out right now, if you already watch it or you're about to. A little touch and go. I'm trying out shorter content. So I'm just playing with that, trying to figure out ways to make scripts, more cursory level type content, like kind of shorter stuff. Occasionally, not all the time. I still want to do longer stuff. But for example, I was thinking about maybe doing like a series of like Program to Kill type stuff. For example, like I did Ian Watkins, the story of Ian Watkins, the Lost Prophet singer. But as doing that, I was kind of thinking, especially as I'm reading Program to Kill, like for example, like the girl in the box, like that story, or like the duo of Leonard Lake and Charles Nigg. Like stuff like that, or just odd little stories that pop up in like Program to Kill. Like I can make a whole Program to Kill series of all the different weird little side stories that don't really ever get like full episodes. You know what I mean? Because like I'm probably never going to do a full episode on the Leonard Lake story or something, but I could see myself doing like a 30-minute episode just as like a quick, like here are the quick and fast details, what you guys need to know. Don't take this as like the tippy top research, go dig into your own, but like somewhere to get you started. I thought that'd be cool. Maybe stuff like that. And I think books like Program to Kill that have a whole bunch of little side stories that even people like me lose track of, I think would actually be helpful for even people like me. Like, oh yeah, Leonard Lake. Oh yeah, him. Like, because it's like you kind of forget those things because you get thrown, like say Program to Kill, the way it does, it throws you all this example, that example, this example, that example. And so you kind of do get a little bit lost in the sauce. So I thought maybe that'd be something cool for something like that. But anyways, I'm dragging on. But yeah, you get the early episodes. That would have been one of them. 1 to 2. You also get access. You get access to early stuff. You usually keep it 4 behind the paywall. Access to ad-free RSS feed. Access to Telegram. You also get access to pre-show, post-show, and video call-ins. Me and Austin's weekly live call-in show. And then like the big homie that just supported the show today, you get your name shouted out. I'm not shouting his name out today because I don't know. Although actually, I'll just go ahead and say it because his name via tweet, he called himself Montana. So he named himself off a state. So it's not like it's a full name. So I don't think that in any way narrows it down. So thank you. But if you want your name shouted out differently, I can give your Twitter account or something a shout out or some shit. But either way, the highest level, like Montana has just gained access to by being a real ass G. That's where I give you a shout out at, and that's the highest level. My previous co-host, entire gang, at Learn to Code, also at Abrogate Deeds, at ZOVRCK, at _ Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at Jolly and Cleeble, Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit I Wine, big fan of the show, Torn May, at Wayne Tackless, 1-800-CARS for kids, so you can get me to say funny stuff too. And then Mark Vestibule, OG homie of the show. And with that, we are out of here. Love you all. Bye-bye. Oh, I almost forgot I have an outro. You'll enjoy this outro. You guys, anyone who's been following this show for a long time, you will fucking love this outro. And I'm thinking about maybe making these a regular thing now too. Like you'll see a beautiful little toad outro. So enjoy this. Jared Leto, suck my dick. This is better. Love you all. See you all tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern.
What if I wanted to break? Laugh it all off in your face. What would you do? Oh, what if I fell to the floor? Couldn't take this anymore. What would you do? Come, break me down, bury me, I am finished with you. What if I wanted to fight, beg for the rest of my life? What would you do? You say you wanted more. What are you waiting for? I'm not running from you. Come, break me down, bury me, I am finished with you. Look in my eyes, you're killing me. All I wanted was you. I wanted to, oh, I'm waiting for. What if I, what if I, what if I, what if I